Warning, all stories could be completely made up, and we have no way to confirm that. Any and all names mentioned in the show are most likely fake. We at Campfire Moto Stories are not journalists and should not be considered as much. If you're offended by anything said or shown in this episode, we don't care, but we encourage you to voice your opinion so we can laugh at the fact that you can't control your emotions. This program contains full language, and I recommend no one to watch or listen to this.
The views and opinions expressed in the program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the sponsor, any advertisers, or the sponsor's affiliates, employees, or partners.
Coming to you live from the Claremont Lounge in Atlanta, Georgia, it's Campfire Moto Stories.
Hey everyone, welcome to Campfire Moto Stories. I'm Anthony Bennett, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today for our live show. This YouTube show / podcast is all about sharing amazing motorcycle stories from everyday riders like you. Whether it's an epic ride, a funny mishap, or an unforgettable adventure, we want to hear it all. Today, we have some fantastic guests in the studio who we'll introduce in just a moment, where we'll dive into their riding stories. Plus, we have exciting segments lined up, including pre-recorded interviews, Billy's tech tips, spotlight a stolen bike, and stories sent in by you through the website and or phone line. At 8:30 sharp, we'll open the phone lines and give our live viewers a chance to call in and share their own motorcycle stories. Lastly, you'll get to hear an awesome story from my 5-year-old son about riding. May or may not be completely made up. But hey, 5-year-old can tell a great story, so can you. Don't forget, you can earn entries into our YZ250 giveaway by participating in the show. Check out CampfireMotoStories.com for all the official rules, and by participating in any way, shape, or form, you indicate that you've read the official rules and agree to our terms and condition. Let's get it started.
Another lap around the wall, another request, another call. All I hear is me, I can't reply to all. I feel the strain, I fall behind, I sacrifice my precious time. All I ever get is everything I
Hey, welcome to Campfire Moto Stories. I got in studio with me my good buddy, Jaron Lindell.
Doing?
Yeah, you've been talking about wanting to come in since I got this thing started, and pumped to have you in, buddy.
Yeah, man. I mean, I called in last episode, and it was one of them things like, say, the studio and everything looks awesome, and I'm just noticing that above your McGrath picture. That's wonderful over there, bud.
So that's actually not in the camera frame, but it's funny. I've been leaving that up there, waiting for somebody to say something. Someone to bring it in and set it on the desk.
Well, all right.
So that's in the studio because I don't remember if you watched the first episode with Brandon and Joe. We talked about the main reason that got this story or the show going is them talking about going on the Costa Rica trip and how they were sitting around at the campfire, drinking beers, having a good time, and that was the coolest part of the trip. So I told them when they went that they were to bring me something back from Costa Rica.
Of course.
So they brought me a wooden dick that said Costa Rica. So
you can't complain for a free gift, in all honesty.
No. Honestly, the only thing that makes me mad is it's bigger, way bigger than mine. So since we're on that, and I always like to hit my guests up with a thing they didn't expect. And we're already talking about penises at this point. So somebody sent me some stuff to ask you about.
Okay.
And I was going to wait, but he sent me 2 things, and the second one's going to give it away as to who sent it. So it was Chase that sent this to me. He said, to ask Jaron to tell me about the time you got so drunk you thought the corner of the room was a toilet and you pissed on the floor.
Oh, man, that's not even moto related.
No, but it's a great icebreaker to get you all relaxed and telling a good story. So what happened with that?
We were at the house. It wasn't anything special. I think it might have just been a weekend night, and I had too much to drink. So
what were you sipping on?
Oh man, it was probably some Maker's Mark at the time. And
Maker's Mark will do that to you.
Well, yeah, especially when you drink, a third, a half of the bottle. But I passed out, went to bed. Wife went to bed with me and everything, and I woke up. And I literally rolled out of bed, and at the time we had our bed and our 2 nightstands, and I just faced the nightstand and started going, and my wife's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I'm going to the bathroom. She's like, not there. No. What the hell are you doing? And I'm like, come on, man. All the cool kids are doing it. And she's like, what are you talking about, man? This is ridiculous. Then she got up and kind of, had to give her smack in the back of the head a little bit and go, all right, get into the bathroom, you DA.
It's like that, God, I don't remember the movie, but as soon as you said that, it reminded me. There was a movie where the dude, it was Euro Trip. He wakes up drunk, goes and pees onto the clothes basket, and then walks away, and then is like, I forgot to flush the toilet, but walks over to the toilet and flushes it. And I was like, that's just like that scene.
Yeah.
Which then also reminded me of the fact that I've done the same thing before from drinking too much whiskey.
Well, now I'll go into one more story about the whole drinking thing. I was traveling for a job, and we'll probably talk about this guy a little later, but his name's Dan Hansen. I met him out at Calhoun. He got me on with his company and everything, and I was a traveling tech working on industrial air compressors.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Well, I was in a hotel room, and at this job, you stay in hundreds of hotel rooms.
This is going.
I had gone out to dinner, had a drink or two and everything. I wasn't drunk. I was just, felt good. Got back to the hotel, laid down, went to sleep. Had to wake up, go to the restroom. So I went to the restroom, and as opposed to walking to the right back into the hotel room, I walked out the door of my hotel room, and I'm the only person in the hotel room. So I turned around and started knocking on the door, and I'm like, all right, you dumbass, what are you doing, man? There's no one in the room. So I was in my boxers, and I had to go from whatever floor I was on through the elevator down to the lobby. I get to the lobby, and the lady at the kiosk is like, no, sir, you can't do that. I was like, I know, I need to get another key for my room. She's like, how did you walk out of your room? I was like, ma'am, I stay in hundreds of different hotel rooms. I had a moment. I was tired. I just need a key. Can I get back in my room, please? So.
What's funny is a good buddy of mine went to a corporate trip that I know of one time and did the same thing because his bathroom at home is the opposite kind of thing.
Right.
But he was drunk and naked.
Oh, yes. I got to at least give it that. Walking through a hotel lobby, especially, it was downtown St. Louis.
Okay.
So it was one of the things, like, you're walking through the lobby, and it was like one of those conference hotels to where it's like, active in downtown St. Louis. So there's hundreds of people at this hotel. Like, I'm hiding behind a plant coming off the elevator because there's a woman with her 2 little daughters with her. And I'm sitting here going, all right, man, I'm the creepy bastard that came off the elevator in my underwear going, I messed up. I didn't mean to. I just need my key.
Derek, this is my show. I can talk about non-motocross stuff all the fuck I want. So my buddy's giving me shit in the comments. Yeah, but there was one night when I said I'd done the same thing. Literally, went into my kid's bathroom. I don't even know if my kid was born at this time, and but I think there was some medication I had to take, or something was weird. Maybe some Benadryl or something else that literally messed me up because I know I didn't drink that much. But yeah, I walked in and turned right to pee, and it's making a loud noise in the tub. And the toilet's 180 behind me, and my wife comes in, and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I just remember just kind of leaning, and then I was like, what? And then kind of came to oh my God, what am I doing? Kind of thing. So also, Chase said that you had him walk up to somebody around 2009-ish at Bremen and go, Daddy? And he couldn't remember if it was me, but he was like, ask him if he remembers you remember doing that. And because shit, in 2009, how young would he have been?
Oh man, he's
under 10.
He's 20.
So carry the 2.
Yeah, math's not
divided by 7.
But no, anyways, I mean, more than likely. I mean, it sounds like it's definitely something we'd do.
I don't think he would do that. Or if he would have done it to me, I would have remembered. And I told him, I was like, I feel like if so, I would have responded with, no, I can't be your dad. I only do butt stuff kind of thing or something. Like if somebody tries to mess with me, I'm going to amplify it to try to make them uncomfortable kind of thing.
Well, that would be one of those things, too, that Chase is the type of person, if he, at that age and everything, he'd like come back and be like, he says he only does.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have known.
Like, I don't know what he's talking about.
So I do feel like we met at Bremen at some point. Do we recall what time frame or what? Because I moved to Georgia in 2007, and that was like, honestly, probably not even the height of Bremen, but definitely in that plateau of its height.
Oh, yeah. I think that was because, well, I mean, bro, Bremen was around in the 80s and 90s and stuff. And I have, hell, man, I told you I had some pictures and stuff I was going to bring. I have a picture of me coming down Bremen's home stretch on a Cobra 50 back in mid to late 90s. And I got Clayton Henderson on an LEM right behind me in second. And you know, for me, that's sitting here going, bro, at one point in time, I was ahead of Clayton Henderson. So it's like, all right, hell yeah.
Yeah. And you don't get to say that too often because Clayton was freaking fast.
So. Oh, yeah, man.
Some of the best whips were thrown at, I remember watching him throwing whips, and it was just like, I can do some cool ones, but nothing compared to that. Hell, I remember actually following him on purpose to get his whips on camera.
Yeah.
Because they were so damn good.
Oh, yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, there's this, I did some pre-show notes with you, and there was a thing about me breaking my back out at Bremen.
No, you didn't send me into those. You didn't send me that one, but I know that you've done it.
Yeah, so there was we were out at Bremen one night for a Thursday night practice, and, you know, of course, the track's prepped. You remember Bremen during Thursday night. You could not beat that track
so good.
prep. But we're out there riding, and it was when they were flagging at the top of the big tabletop. And that was like, you know, you jump the big tabletop, get off the track, next practice goes. Clayton was in front of me. And Clayton threw his whips off to the left. So, he was in front of me. We were getting the checkered flag for practice, you know, nothing big or anything like that. But he goes and throws.
And you got to try to win practice. I mean, you wouldn't be much of a man if you didn't try to win practice.
Of course. That was my dad and mine's main objective at the end of our riding lifestyle. It was like, hey, man, we got to go out and win practice, damn it. Because then after that, we could load it up and go home and not even get hurt in the races, you know? But no, man, Clayton goes out there and he throws a massive whip off to the left side. It's like, you know, normal Clayton Henderson whip. But then I was like, all right, Clayton, I think I got you, man. So I go and I hang off the left side of my bike as far as I could to throw one off to the right. And I tell you, about midway through the air, the whip was one of those like, oh, dude, this is going to be sick. By the time I got to the landing, going, all right, it's too sick, it's too far out. I ended up landing still crossed up over the jump. Bike swap, slammed me. I ended up getting the ever living snot knocked out of me with the wind and everything.
What year would that have been?
2012, 10, somewhere in there.
You would have had that like 09 YZ450?
I had an 07 for a long time.
Okay.
So
well, the 07, 09s look almost the same.
Yeah, and it would have been that model. So
yeah.
And I remember, man, because I ended up breaking the T7 and T8 vertebrae. So I fractured the wings of the vertebrae on the back. So technically, I broke my back. But if you're going to break your back, it's going to be, that's the best way possible for doing it.
I've done that to my neck and my back on separate occasions. So, yeah.
Your crack as well?
No, didn't get my pussy nor my crack.
But anyway, yeah, nah, man. We ended up, my buddy at the time, Michael Wicker, was with me.
Yeah.
And he had helped me get off the track with a couple other guys that were there. Like, they picked me up, and I go, I think I'm good enough to walk. Got me into his mom's SUV, and I remember until she sold that car, she was still finding dirt from Bremen in the car. We're talking like 5-6 years later. She's like, I vacuumed the ever-living snot out of this car, and I'm still getting Bremen dirt out of it. I was like, hey, man, they use top-of-the-line soil there, so it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, well, I rode that once at Bremen. I'm sure there's still Bremen dirt somewhere.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Well, actually, the last time I rode that thing was at a Bremen Thursday night, and it has sat ever since then, well over 10 years.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, the straightaway is the only straightaway you could think of at Bremen to be able to get enough running speed to actually click a 500 up into fourth gear.
That's not true. If you were going for the Mexican after you make the left, you got to be hitting that in fourth gear.
I mean, tapping into fifth, possibly.
I would not hit hit the Mexican on that thing.
No, but I mean, I don't know. You keep your stuff up pretty well. The shocks, everything will handle it.
Yeah, I've got an incredible Mexican story. We were talking about Nick Gaddy earlier.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna wait for him to come in because it's really good. So, God, I love that jump. I'm sure you've got to hit it.
Oh yeah,
tons of times.
Yeah.
I never hit it when it was the ombre, when it was the actual triple.
Yeah,
that Chisholm snapped both his wrists on trying on a 125.
If I'm not mistaken, Walker was riding Pro Circuit at the time, and he cased the ever-living snot out of it one time at I think a Verb Classic or something.
I heard he had done it as well.
I mean, there's a video of it somewhere around. You'd have to go digging for it.
I wonder if you're thinking of Chisholm though, because I mean, you start after so many years, it becomes the tall tales, right, of who did it. But it wouldn't surprise me if both of them had.
I'm pretty sure it was Walker, because this was still around the time he was riding pro and everything.
Yeah,
but he was still coming out to some of the local races.
They changed it from the ombre to the Mexican shortly after I moved up in 07. It would have been 08, 09 they changed it. So before then, it was the massive freaking triple. I mean, all they did is fill in the triple part of it to make it almost a tabletop,
like
a little
BMX
bit.
double almost.
But it still was every bit of third tapped on a 450, fourth on a 250. I mean, seventh on a 125. I mean,
don't get me wrong. Even sometimes I try to click up on the face of it to fourth before launching off of it to get a little bit extra off of it. Because I mean, seat bouncing it, pulling off the handlebars like you're about to fall off the side of a cliff building and everything. It didn't really matter. That jump was massive. I mean, they reshaped it one time. I think Ryan Nolan was running.
Yeah. The Canadian. Always had his shirt off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he looked good with his shirt off.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, man. Ryan's cool. He worked with me on some riding and everything.
Do you want to keep this?
No. You're good.
For anything?
Nah, Ryan was always. I looked up to Ryan, and he did give me some riding lessons and stuff for a little while.
He was a damn good rider too.
Yeah, he was.
I had some good battles with him.
Yeah, and I mean, it's cool because technically you could say you raced with a pro rider because he was running the Canadian Nationals and everything at one point in time.
Yeah.
But he had reshaped the face of that jump, and he had told me, he's like, "Hey man, I reshaped the face of the triple. Let me know what you think." And first time going off of it, it's like, all right, you double it first to get your basis and everything for it, and then you get the run up on it. And I got to get run out of the corner, got my gearing clicked up and everything. I go, all right, I'm hitting it. OMG, man, it was like Supercross style, massive. I launched off the face of it, and it was like, seriously, you could have counted to 3 seconds for how well he faced up the face.
Which seems like 10.
Exactly.
When you're on the bike, it's time slows down.
Exactly, because it's one of those things. It's like one Mississippi.
Yeah.
But nah, man, I came back to him. I'm like, bro, that thing is massive. He is like, I know, I'm pretty proud of that one. I mean, seriously, after the first time jumping, it's like, all right, got the speed, got the mindset for it and everything. Now it's like, all right, click it off every lap. And it was one of those where he faced it up so nice that you definitely got the height more higher than you had been jumping in the past. But then it's also one of them things, it didn't require as much speed, but you're still, third, fourth gear wide open.
And when you're going that much higher than you're used to on it, it just feels awkward.
Yeah,
it's the best way to say it.
Well, I mean, it's almost one of the things like the free riders where they're launching these huge jumps. It's almost like if you just wanted to hang off the bike in the middle of the jump, you had enough time to just hang off and lay it over and then bring it back and everything. It's like, all right, man, that's a hell of a face you put on that thing. That's badass.
Yeah, I remember one time, was it Kevin or Kyle that usually did the track prep for the practices or the races?
I think Kevin did a good bit of it.
Okay,
but
that's
then,
what I thought too. So there was one Thursday where Kevin couldn't, so Kyle did it. And I was the first one there on a Thursday. He had just got done with the dozer, and he sees me kind of up there, like pretty much geared up, and he waves me down. He's like, hey, do a quick test run real quick. And I hit the big table, and the same thing. He had flipped the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, or he gives me a thumbs up, and I was like, yeah. And then when I went over to him, I was like, it's quite a bit more lip than normal. He's like, yeah, that's what I was going for. I was like, cool.
And I mean, it's one of them things too, you know, with the track water and all that. I know they had a lot of runoff and everything at Bremen.
Oh yeah.
It's you know, they'd reshaped the jumps and everything, and like you had mentioned, I think you had posted on one of your Campfire Moto Stories things that it's the prince of Thursday night practice.
Oh, damn it. You know, and I was going to look it up because I was going to say, because you and your dad were there so often that it's almost like he was the king and you were the prince of that. Because there wasn't ever a Thursday that I was ever there that you were not there, either of you two. Unless you were injured, of course.
Right.
But you can't be the king and the prince because King was the king of Bremen since King Kelly started it. So
yeah, and it's one of those things
Duchess? I'll call you a Duchess.
There we go. I'll take it. Why not? You know, but the messed up part is it was local. You know, it was 45 minutes down the road. So
yep.
Dad would, I'd go to school, come home. If I was wrestling or whatever at the time, do my practice, come home. And then Dad would end up coming home with bikes loaded and everything. He goes, all right, let's go. So we go out to Bremen. And it got to the point where it's like, Dad, man, you know, don't get me wrong. I love riding and everything, but Bremen has, we've gone to Bremen straight for the past year and a half. Like, I want to do something a little different. He's like, well, I got great news for you. We're going to a new track today. And it's like, really? Okay, cool. Where are we going? He's like, well, Bremen reversed their layout and redid the track, so we're going to a new track today. And it's like, damn it, Dad, come on, man. Why are you doing this to me? But nah, we had a blast out there, and it was one of them things like, you can't beat Thursday night prep out at Bremen. I mean, there are times when you'd be going down the front straightaway after they just got done tilling it. You could be on a 450. It didn't matter. You'd have to downshift from fourth to third going halfway down the straightaway because, you know, the tilling was a foot deep, you know?
Yeah.
It is like, man.
But it broke down awesome with after the 1.5 sessions, probably.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. You start getting your berms built up and everything, and then you'd have some guys that would throw water out on the track every once in a while, and they'd keep a lot of the moisture in and stuff too. So even riding later in the day after track's been ridden on multiple times, multiple practices, you had a great track to go and ride on. And it's one of them things that, like, I hope that the people that are listening truly take into account, because Bremen was special. It wasn't even just like that was my home track and that was where I rode and all the time and everything,
but it was special.
Truly special, man, to be able to go out to Bremen and go ride Bremen's motocross track.
And they also started the first motorcycle podcast.
Oh, yeah, with John Watkins and everybody?
Well, no, the DMXS. Started from Kevin and David Eiser.
Man.
It's pretty much right out of Bremen, right down the road at their T-shirt shop? Well, word shop. I think
they had a trophy shop.
Trophy shop at the time, yeah. So literally, I mean, it was a podcast before it was a podcast. That was the thing.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, DMXS is still around.
Yeah. I actually, one of my things at the end is thanking Dave Eiser. He and I talked for like an hour and a half when I first started this idea of what I wanted to do, and I still text Kevin every now and then about different things, and hell, I text Kyle even earlier today about some stuff, not about the show, just about riding this weekend kind of thing. See if he was going anywhere.
Has he thrown a leg over a bike?
Kyle's been riding a decent, well, not a decent amount. He almost died.
Well,
he had a heart attack not too long ago. They actually shocked him and revived him. Yeah, life flighted him, and he made it.
I had no idea.
Yeah, on Kevin and on the Winners Take Y'all, they actually talked about it 2-3 months ago, kind of thing. So yeah, once I found out about it, I texted Kyle and was like, "Dude, I'm still glad you're with us," kind of thing.
Yeah, man, I had no idea that. God dang, I'm glad he's still with us too, man. Jeez.
Damn, I figured you'd have heard about it, but you guys are kind of disconnected from it a little bit now that you kind of pussified and quit riding.
Yeah, well, it's one of them things, man. The wife.
After so many injuries, which, I mean, that's one of the next things I was going to kind of segue into is how many bones have you broken? Uh-oh.
It's a lot.
There we go. For some reason, yours wasn't picking up for a second.
I might have been talking too soft, but yeah, I start. It's like I have to inspect myself, going, okay, there's a scar there. Okay, nah,
I'm at least 13 to 15, somewhere in that realm.
I think I'm over that.
You have to be over that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We can probably go into the worst ones, but I mean, a lot of it was not all moto related. You know, I had a lot of motor related stuff, but there was a lot of stuff
or
like
BMX stuff too. Because I know you did a lot of BMX stuff.
Yeah, and it was hell. I broke my femur when I was 5. That was I was riding a bicycle out in the cul-de-sac. I was doing wheelies, and my shoelace got stuck to the pedal.
Oh god!
I fell just right, and yeah, man, I broke my femur. I'm sitting down.
My kid's 5, so I have to think think about my kid breaking his femur.
And I mean, he's already following you on how well he crashes at everything.
No, he is very reserved, and actually, you can see him. He's very methodical and cautious of stuff. I'm more of a fuck it, hit, just send.
Yeah. But nah, man, I was out riding my bicycle out in the street and did a wheelie. Shoelace got caught on the pedal. Broke my femur. It wasn't any sort of spectacular fall, but broke my femur. And one of the neighbors drove by and trying to wave her down, and she just waved at me. Yeah, she just waved at me like, hey. And she gets at, because I mean, we were right at the end of a cul-de-sac too. So she parked into her driveway. I'm like, help! And she's like,
is that the neighborhood that's over by Chad's place, by Burnt Hickory? Because I think you said you grew up there for a while. Over near Moon's farm was and all that?
No.
Okay.
That was
I know at one time you guys were over in that area.
I was living out there with an ex-girlfriend at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was
way later in life then. Okay.
Yeah, that was, well, hell, man, we were living out there. Who's Chad?
Ferguson, where the Burnt Hickory Old National used to be.
Okay. Because I was thinking about Moon Farm, and that was they weren't riding public yet. You remember they had a few public
You
rides.
told me this story. Go ahead, tell it. I know it.
Yeah, man. I lived out by there, and I could hear dirt bikes.
Yep.
Like, they weren't far enough away that when people were riding, you could hear people riding.
Yeah.
Something like
and if you're into motorcycles at all, if you hear a bunch of rev limiting bouncing off the obviously somebody's somewhere riding, practicing some wheelies or doing whatever. You hear dirt bikes, you're doing the...
Yeah.
You're like a dog catching a whiff of bacon.
Yeah, you're training in on all the sounds and everything. It is one of those, I was like, all right, well, then they announced they're going to do a public ride day. So I was like, all right. Man, I want to say there was something to where I figured out where they were.
Yeah.
And gone out to Mr. Moon's place, and I had just driven past all the horse stables and everything. I had my girlfriend at the time. We go out there in my little lowered Blue Ranger, and I get out to the track, and it's like, oh, bro, this place is
awesome.
Sick. Yeah.
One time I've got to ride there, and yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah, and
almost everywhere you're fourth gear, even through turns.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very fast, sweeping, fun track.
There's a lot of flow to it, too. It wasn't.
And the jumps are very forgivable too.
They're forgivable, but at the same token, you want to get over them clean and get all the way over them. There were a couple out there that were like, you had to stretch yourself out to be able to get all the way over the jump.
Yeah.
But I got out to the track. Okay, this is badass. And seriously, this is a few days before they're about to do their first public ride. And get out there and check out the track. I'm getting in my truck to leave, just about to cruise back up the road I came down and everything. I get surrounded. It had to have been 5 to 7 pickup trucks, and
you're in Georgia, so they're gonna be packing.
yeah, that was definitely the first thought, was like, oh hell, I messed up. And I start talking. I go, hey, sorry, I heard y'all were doing a public ride day. I live right down the road.
Just wanted to check the place out.
Yeah, I wanted to check it out. I go, y'all. My dad was a bigger name back in the day and everything, so I was
Still
like,
is.
you just throw the name out there. I was like, y'all might have heard of my dad, and they're like, who's your dad? Go, Rick Lindell. They're like, one of the guys, I can't remember who the gentleman was or anything, but he's like, okay, this guy's cool. I know his dad, and he's okay.
It's probably Keith.
I don't know, because we ended up becoming friends with Mr. Moon and everything at because we did do you remember back in the day there was some of the natural terrain races, running brands? Yep.
Yeah, I never got to do that, but I know of them.
And Mr. Moon liked to go out and do those races and stuff. And we ended up seeing him several times out at the running brand races and got chit-chatting with him. And I told him at the time where I was living at, and he knew exactly where I was and everything.
And you're half a mile from there? Maybe.
If that, you know. So, I mean, I was close enough to hear dirt bikes running around, but ended up getting permission from him to basically come ride whenever I want, just as long as I gave him hey, Mr. Moon, I'd like to come out and check in. You know, give him the respect to check in and all that good stuff.
Yep.
And
don't be an idiot and bring 10 people with you and try to hide it from them, kind of thing, like some people will do.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, you know, like I say, that track, I rode it. I think they did 2 public rides, and I rode it both times on the public rides.
Yeah, I didn't get any of the public rides. It was a kind of an invite only the one time I got. I don't even remember. I do remember I think rode it Lanes on a Friday, raced at Bremen on a Saturday, was dead tired, and somebody hit me up like, hey, I got you in for Red Moon. And I'm sore as hell, barely even able to move, and I was like, I'm fucking going. I'm going.
That's one of those. If he's putting in the time to till up the track and everything, definitely can't pass that up.
Yeah.
You know.
He actually rode last weekend.
Did you?
No, he rode last weekend.
Oh, Mr. Moon did?
Yeah. I'm not going to say how I know, but I may have an insight. But I ended up talking to somebody.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, I'm leaving Moon's Farm. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. And,
I think somebody was in town, that maybe his son or something, and so they just had a handful of people or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't even sure if the track was there because, like, the last I kind of knew of it, he was using it for the Tough Mudder kind of thing. So.
Oh, yeah.
And those bring big money. Oh, the Savage Race.
Yeah.
Savage Race is what it's
Yeah.
because you go by, you see the banners for when the dates are going to be on there.
Right.
So I'll drive by there every now and then, and you just kind of do the, can I see the track?
Well, I will give you the warning if you're going to go back there. Have a name to throw out. Because when they surrounded me that one time, I was definitely shaking in the truck going, all right. I was talking to my girlfriend at the time going, you know what? You stay here. I'm gonna get out.
No sudden movements.
So yeah, don't
reach in the glove department. Don't pull for a pack of cigarettes. Just be cool, bro.
Right. And yeah, man. They like I said, once they figured out who the old man was, it was like, okay, he's cool. And it's like definitely you definitely take a breath of air at that point, going, all right, you know, that was a bad idea. I should not do that again.
Well, just random thought with it, because I'd like to make sure that I let everybody know that Jaron is brought into you today into the studio by... Our next segment is brought to you by Hard Knocks Racing. They're a group of dedicated motorcycle enthusiasts since 1998. They're your go-to for Campfire Moto official gear and will soon launch an apparel line of their own. They excel in crafting all kinds of custom decals, like this badass sign behind me, from custom signs to full bus wraps and office customization. In fact, check out this work Anthony did at one of the well-known Japanese manufacturer's office who will remain nameless. They also crafted awards for prestigious events such as the Perry Mountain 24-hour race, Mill Creek Spring Classic, Seika Hair Scramble Series, and many more for local racetracks in the Southeast. Check out hardknocksracing.com or give Anthony D'Amico a call at 404-717-2480. Look, people, I got bills to pay, okay? Go hit up Anthony. Get you some stuff done if you need any of that stuff. Awesome guys. I actually rode with Joe earlier today, the CFO of Hard Knocks Racing, who was also on the show in the first episode. What the hell was that beep? Wonder if that was heard in here or not. Must have clicked on something. But yeah, I just figured I'd get that plug in real quick. So, segueing from the broken bone thing, there was one time at Bremen, they had reconfigured the track at some point, and I was eyeing up, and it was right next to the big table. It was, I want to say it was either before or in transition where they had that one table step down right next to the big table. So before they made that, or when it was made, they changed it for whatever reason, and they put a table to a single. And DJ even mentioned something about it, DJ Mitchell, and I was like, I was already going to ask him about that one, because I remember being like, I can do this. I want to do this. And the next thing I know, I hear, hey, Jaron's being carted off the track. He tried that single.
Yeah, man.
What did you break? What happened on that? What went wrong? Do you still think it's doable? Sorry, I'm hitting you with those questions.
No. At the point in time, I definitely think it was doable. And it was one of them things I heard. There was one or two riders that actually made a jump into the corner and were able to triple it, I guess.
Oh, like kind of cut the corner to run at it? Okay, I could see that.
But now,
if you basically came from where the finish line was, came down, you could get a more of a straight run at it, right?
Yeah. And I think that's what they did. But now there was the way the track used to go is you would come over the finish line tabletop, you would hang a right-hander, there was a roller in the corner, excuse me, and then you would make a left-hander. You can go to the outside, if I'm not mistaken, there was a roller on the inside of that corner, but then there was that tabletop, and then there was a single afterwards, which was the same setup in my mind when I looked at it after they had changed it. But what they did is they had made the landing of the big tabletop be a sweeping left-hander, and then it came around to that tabletop single that we're talking about. I had tracks fresh. I think it was a Thursday night practice.
It was early on in the practice.
Yeah, it was the first 15, 20 minutes we were there. Dad was pissed. But we were sitting there. I rode a couple laps and everything, and I go, you know what, man, I really think if I can rail the outside of this left-hander,
I can do this.
Yeah, exactly. So I got it all lined up. Definitely should have been a gear higher. I know that.
Second? It should have been third kind of thing?
I think I was in third and should have been more in fourth with the run-up, because you still had a good run-up to the jump and everything, but track was fresh, so there was water down on the track. In the face of the jump, it was a little slick. I mean, it wasn't soaked, but definitely spun all the way off the face because Dad was right in front of me. At that point in my mind, I was like, all right, I've made it up. I'm going to jump this jump.
At some point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid and be like, I think I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm going for it. Yeah.
Well, I didn't make it. I ended up frame casing on the single afterwards.
So you didn't even get the rear wheel over it?
No, not at all. It literally was frame, and I don't even think I had like rebound from suspension. It was just frame and just kind of like
a pogo off,
hard body off the side of the bike. Dad stops. He's like, "You hurt yourself?" I was like, yeah, I did.
So what did he make you do? Because I know what he made you do.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I had to get back on the bike and get off the track.
No, but once you got back to the truck and you knew you weren't dying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, practice just started. I can't help it. You're an idiot. You're going to have to sit here and watch me ride. So, I mean, at that point in time, it's understandable. It's like, yeah, man, dude, that sucks. I should have at least crashed, halfway through practice. So I got some more riding time in.
Yeah. What did you even break on that one?
Shattered my left heel to the point where basically the doctor came back and was, your heel is disintegrated. We're going to make the best of it that we can. and we'll go from there. So I got a plate and 11 screws in the left foot holding the heel.
11 screws.
Yes.
Holy shit. What I mean, did your foot slip off and dab the ground? Were you more heel on the pegs then?
I'm thinking I was balls my feet on the pegs like you're supposed to be, but like I say, I frame cased the single, so
Maybe
suspension
it hit the ground?
Yeah,
If it's frame casing at that time.
yeah, heels are digging in and everything and extending. I'm pretty sure that's what happened during that one, because it was like I say, when I landed, it almost kind of looked like the Travis Pastrana when he cased the freestyle jump and just kind of stiff bodied off the side of the bike. That's kind of what happened, because Dad literally was rolling over the jump and just stopped and was like, "Hey, dumbass, are you okay? Or are you hurt?" "I'm hurt." "All right, get back to the truck so I can finish riding."
Chase said you also shattered your ego that day.
Yes, yeah, most definitely, because it was at that point in time, man, I was working out and everything too, so I was
Being not swole.
yeah, I guess you could say
Could
that.
you still wipe, or were you just so big you couldn't?
You know what's funny is I actually did have a hard time wiping, because I'm a
We've all had a hard time wiping at
well,
some
not from
point.
injury though. It was from working out and everything. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so
Oh, yeah.
the insulin that I take is more anabolic than steroids. That's why a lot of diabetics have their mood swings and stuff that they have. And so if I were to work out and eat healthy, I could get massive
Oh, really?
from taking my insulin and doing what I'm supposed to do properly. And at that point in time, I was weighing 220, and
Jesus.
yeah, I was huge.
So what are you now? $180?
$180. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first week in the hospital, I went from 220 to like 205. And I was like, all right, I'm done working out. That just ruined it
I
for
don't
me.
ever remember you being that big.
Oh, it was like I say 2010-ish, around that time frame.
I knew you well then, but yeah, I don't remember. But I mean, I didn't check out guys as much as you do. We're talking about Ryan Nolan, so I mean,
Well,
obviously.
I'm sorry, man. My sister always thought Ryan Nolan was a good-looking dude back in the day. She was like, "Don't tell him or anything." But now that she's married, he's married, everything's good.
Okay.
Yeah, my sister.
We'll make sure that Ryan does not find out that your sister used to think he was hot. I'm
But
sure
then-
she's at home going, right?
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, this idiot." But now, okay, back in 98, 99, I did the KTM Junior Supercross Challenge, which
Oh, I forgot. You didn't send that in the notes that I took down,
I forgot
but yeah.
about it.
You either messaged me or when we talked, you told me about that. You were in the first one or the first year.
It was the first year. It might have been the first race, but I can't remember. And I've done a little bit of research on it, and I can't remember where the first round of the KTM Junior
I want to
Supercross
say, like,
Challenge was.
I heard through the rumors, through listening to things over the years, like Mike Alessi or other people, other big names were in the very first one too.
Oh yeah, he was.
won
And
the
I know
first one
that
kinda
the one he was in was later than the one that I was in.
Because we're actually pretty close to the same age as Mike would be. So yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I think Michael Alessi is actually between your and my age. He's older than I am, but younger than you are.
We're only a few years. How old are you?
35.
Fuck, I thought you were like 36, 37-ish, but yeah, I'm 38, so.
Mentally, I'm like 12.
Well,
So, you know.
I'm 7. My son and I are really close to the same age,
Yeah,
actually.
I know. It's one of those things that, like, I'm hanging out with my daughter. It's like, okay, I can get down with the video games. But, yeah, no, we did the KTM Junior Challenge.
Jace just said, keep my mom's mouth out of this.
Yeah.
He's in Canada, Chase. Relax, all right? Hey, Scott Simmons said Karma caught up with Rick, though. I think he was commenting on that about him making you sit there while you rode, or while he rode.
Oh, yeah. That's my father-in-law, man. Dad definitely had to sit out his fair share every once in a while. You know, it's like, hey,
He's supposed to be the big dog. He's supposed to be able to be like, nope, we're going home.
yeah. Well, I mean, when you can't actually get back home because you've hurt yourself too bad, you got to.
Well, I guess, yeah, because he can't drive at that point, so.
Nah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had to sit out a few rides after hurting myself and everything, but Dad has always been Dad, when he usually gets hurt, he's sprawled all across the ground, and we got to go out there with a shovel
And scrape them up.
Yeah.
He's a bit older, though. I mean, he's got an excuse.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I remember being that same way, too. Like, I remember breaking my collarbone one time at War Eagle, 2016-ish. And it was actually a ride right after, like, Supercross. You know, the day after Supercross, somebody used to be Bremen would have a badass event. After that went away, we went to War Eagle. And, yeah, I broke my collarbone. It was midway through the day. I'm sitting. I've got 4 other people with me. I'm not going to ruin their ride day. And I remember driving home and telling my wife that. And she was pissed at me. And I'm like, why are you? She's like, you could have an internal bleeding. You could have. I was like, no, I'm fine. But that's the mentality. She could have been right.
Right. Yeah. It's one of the things. It's
No,
like
our
I didn't
mentality
feel like I had internal bleeding. I thought I was okay. But now, you know, there was my dad when he last messed up his legs and everything out X track and everything. My nephew had crashed.
X track.
I'm sorry.
It was the one up in Dalton.
Yeah.
Something Creek?
No.
Swamp something?
No, they changed it after that. But anyways, he was up there riding, got hurt up there. And before my dad had gotten hurt, my younger nephew was riding, and he had crashed off of like a wall jump, doubling into a roller section.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I wasn't there that day.
He ended up breaking his wrist, and he did the same thing. He's like, man, we just got here. I don't want to ruin y'all's ride day. It's like, what do you need, bro? Ibuprofen. I'm pretty sure we could find you a beer if you truly wanted a beer.
He's probably like 15.
Yeah. He was like, no, I just want something to make the pain stop. I was like, I don't think we have that around here.
Somebody in the pits might.
Yeah, true. But so he ended up sitting out for a little bit on that ride, and then Dad got hurt, and it was like, oh, jeez, man. All right, everyone, we're all going to the hospital at this point.
Yeah. Our ADD kicked in. We were talking about the Junior 50 Challenge.
Oh, yeah, man.
What do you remember from that? What was the experience like?
It was neat.
How old were you? 7?
7 or 8, somewhere in there.
I think that's the range they do it.
Yeah, and Dad had sent in. I guess she did.
I want to say it was around 98, if my memory serves me right, that they did the first one. So so that adds up math wise.
Yeah, because
carry the 2.
We have the bib. Up in the shadow box in my KTM jersey, but Dad had wrote in because I think he had to write in a resume and let them know, and then you had to send in your kids' grades in school and everything. Excuse me. But did all that. I got selected and everything to go on ride, and there you go out there and you're a pro rider for a day, and especially being one of the first years it's ever happened. Every kid in the pits, it saw other kids that are like, whoa, man, these kids are dressed out in gear and they all got bikes on sale. I want their autograph. So, every kid in the pit wanted to come through and get your autograph and everything, which is really neat. But it was one of those things we were getting to meet the riders and stuff as well. So at that point in time, we got to meet McGrath.
Chicken riding it? No. I know Lusk would have been. Carmichael would have been.
Carmichael. I don't know if Matasevich was still.
No, I don't think he would have been at that point.
But it goes back to, because talking about my sister thinking Ryan Nolan was hot, she thought Kevin Windham was smoking hot at that point. So I told Allie Seymour, Wyndham's mechanic, I was like, hey, my sister thinks Kevin's hot. Please tell him. See, Renee, I've always been trying to help you out. I've always had your back.
Oh, that's fucking great. All right, so what was the other ones that I marked here that I definitely... Oh, this one's really good. Tell me about the sparkly rainbow helmet.
Mom and Dad got me a custom painted helmet by Terry Hunter, and this was early 2001. And, Terry's helmets have always been...
Did it have the chrome Troily Designs fin? Because that was about that era. That would have been that.
No, but the helmet before that had that. But I told Dad, I was like, I don't want a fin on this helmet. I just want the custom paint. I want Terry to do what he does with helmets. And man, if y'all haven't seen Terry's work, that man does gorgeous work. Trent does gorgeous work too. But Terry had painted me up a helmet. And, you know, I'm trying to think of like when he would have put the sticker on, but my dad put a holographic flower power rainbow sticker on the back of my helmet. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have put it on before they had even gifted me the helmet, because I got it for my birthday or something.
So was it clear coated over?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
But it was one of the things he had put on afterwards. Never said a word.
So after you got the helmet, you obviously are going to inspect it heavily when you first get it. This is amazing. Then
yeah, but you know, there's always the stickers on the very center of the back of the helmet. That's like the DOT sticker or whatever.
Yep.
He stuck it right over that. So it wasn't even like a thought process at the time to look at the sticker and go, oh, that's a different sticker than the DOT sticker. And it wasn't, man, seriously, it was like a year later. I'm sitting, we're in the trailer, and I'm getting ready for a moto, and I'm wiping down my helmet. I'm like, what in the hell is this? Dad just starts dying laughing. I'm like, how long has this been on there? I'm pretty sure it was on there when they actually gifted me the helmet. So it was on there for over a year that I had no idea I had a sparkly flower power sticker on the back of my helmet. That, I mean, you're talking, it's about the size of a $50. How I didn't see it, I have no idea. But you know, it's one of those, it's like, oh, geez. And then I think it might have even been after I had found it. It's like, well, hell, if it's been on there this long, might as well leave it and keep running with it, you know?
Well, I'm much of a prank enthusiast, as you know, so I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of anything where I've done like that where I've let something go for a year. Because I feel like a month is the longest I let something go where I'm like, all right, I got to say something.
Yeah. And I mean, it might have even been that Dad had forgotten about it and just been like, oh, now that you find it, that's hilarious, man. That's funny.
The only, now that just brought up memory, the only thing is non-motorcycle related other than the dude was a roommate who had street bikes, but there was a dude I lived with in Florida with my old roommate that called in last show. We had this roommate named Nick. I don't remember his last name. Probably won't even say. Oh, I just remembered his last name. Not going to say it.
Yeah.
Dude was an MMA fighter. He trained in Thailand. He was a badass kind of thing. And this is early on in Facebook, 05 kind of thing. And we were over at his new place after he moved out. And the dude was the biggest asshole ever. Like, you just felt like he was roid raged all the time. He had little man syndrome. He was like 5'4". I think that's why he got into fighting. But yeah, he was just always an asshole. And so I took his Facebook status and turned it into interested in men and didn't ever say anything because he would have beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I would periodically check like every month, at least 9 months. And then finally, I was like, it finally changed at some point, and I feel like it went from checking every month to checking every 2 months to 3 months kind of thing. But at some point, I looked and I was like, oh, it's not there. He found it. I bet he's like, who the fuck did? Like, he probably punched a hole in the wall, trying to wonder and figure out.
Yeah, it's like at that point, you kind of wish you could get onto their computer camera and get the one that points at him when he found it to see him losing his absolute mind. Because I like I said, when Dad was sitting at the end of the trailer and I found this, you know, I'm still young at this point, you know, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, I
old enough to know what the rainbow meant.
Well, yeah, but you know, at that point I wasn't cursing around my parents. I might have cursed, but it wasn't around them.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those. It's like, damn it, Dad. Oh, I mean, dang it, Dad. What the hell is this? You know? Definitely pissed off about it, but at the same token, it's like you can't help but laugh. You know,
we have to train our kid to know. Before we had kids, my friend and I, like, we're not going to be able to teach him to not cuss because we can't not cuss.
Right.
But we just have to teach him early on when he can and can't say it.
Yeah.
And so he's known since he's really was talking at 2 the things he can and can't say, or he'll he'll say something. I'm like, where'd you hear that? Mom driving me to school. But he'll try to sneak it in and push the limits sometime. Like, is fuck a bad word? I'm like, buddy, I know what you're doing. You're just trying to see if you just want to say it and see if I was like, don't do that. Especially, I'm not gonna say what school he goes to, but he goes to a good school to where he will get kicked out for.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's that's funny to hear you say that.
But it's like my daughter is getting to that age now where
Well, how
it's
old is she?
She's 12.
Okay, I
Yeah.
almost said 15, and I was like, no, that's not right.
Yeah, she's getting to that age now where it's like, or she's not 12 yet. She's going to be 12 on the 24th of this month.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's getting to that point where it's like, you know, what does this word mean? It's like, all right, yeah, I know.
But there's some words now where you're like, I'm gonna have to Google that. I don't know that one.
She was talking, there's, you know, the newfound language of these young kids nowadays.
The damn TikTokers.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here and bibbity is a word or something. And we might be showing our age here, but it's one of them things like it's a word that can be a positive or a negative looking at Google because, you know, I'm a parent and I had to go Google what the hell it meant. And it's like, I don't think it's a curse word, but then again, I'm still unsure.
I'm disconnected from that because my kid's too young to even know or to start asking me those kind of things. But hell, I'm so like, I learned what clout was from Frank Mann like 4 years ago.
And it's like, what's
somebody? I was like, the fuck is clout? He's like, oh, the fucking kids, they talk about it from TikTok. Somebody told me that I've got clout. I was like,
I'll say, how does Frank Mann know what clout is?
Who's the kid that just turned pro that he won a moto or almost won a moto at Spring Creek? Cochran.
Oh,
Casey
okay,
Cochran.
yeah.
He will fly down and hang out with them every now and then at
that's cool.
where they train. So I think he got it from him. If my memory serves me right, that's who he said did it.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, we're getting off topic here. All right. Riding next to Winn-Dixie. You and Trent even made a comment on that. What was so special about this Winn-Dixie place? Where was it?
Yeah, I mean, we live in Powder Springs, and there's a Winn-Dixie, old Kroger-style grocery store. And off to the right of the Winn-Dixie.
One on, not Hill Road, but
Brownsville, yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and they used to have basically just a lot next to it to where they did construction, but there was nothing ever finished over there. So.
I had a few of those in Florida. I know exactly the type of setup you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a couple, like you say, you bring a shovel out to there and go face up some jumps and everything. There's a nice, cool angled wall that you can go up and ride on and everything. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's where Trent Hunter and I met because, I mean, our dads knew each other.
Yeah.
But I don't think Trent and I had ever met. And I was on a Cobra 50, and I think Trent was on an LEM. And met up out there and rode out there one day. And it was like, okay, this kid's pretty cool, man. I want to ride with him and everything. So we all started kind of just hanging out and riding out at Winn-Dixie. And it was neat because, you know, it was a free ride. There was no set way to go about it or anything. And, you know, you'd have your random moto guys show up with a bike in the back of their pickup truck, unload, come ride for an hour or so, load up, go back home. And, I mean, it's one of those things that just to load up bikes and get ride out of this place was 3 minutes down the road from the house.
Yeah.
So after I got done riding, Dad would be like, hey, I'm going to drive the truck back. You get in the back. You know, don't touch the pipes on the bike or anything, but ride in the back of the truck back to the house and everything. So I wasn't getting the truck dirty and all that. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's just one of them.
For a second, I was like, why is he making you ride in the back? But that makes sense.
Yeah, because, I mean, obviously you go out and ride and there was no prep or anything. It's just an open lot.
Yeah.
There was one cool section that I saw Dad. I mean, again, we're talking late 90s, so I'm on a Cobra 50. And I saw Dad go off of this, just a drop-off, man. You're talking like a 10 to 12-foot drop-off, and just watched him all the way off of it and everything. I was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I can do that on my Cobra. So I go, Dad, I want to do this. What do you think? Yes. Well, my only thing is make sure you're on the throttle going off the last bit of it so you can get your front end up. You're not going to endo and go cartwheeling into the middle of the track. Okay. So pinned wide open off a Cobra 50 off of it. Bottomed the bike out. First time I think I'd ever bottomed a bike out off of jumping stuff.
First of thousands.
Yes. After that point, it was like, oh, this is great. No, I want to do this again. But nah, man, it was like, okay, that was really cool. I got to go do that again. And then started, I think that might have opened up a little bit of the, hey, I can make that double into a triple, ordeal. But it was neat too, because there was one time we were out there riding.
It's plausible to say your balls dropped that day. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know if my voice got any deeper, but balls definitely dropped a little bit.
In fact, they may have gone up a little bit from
from slamming into the seat. But we were out there riding one day, man, and there is an older Bronco, big Bronco, not the Bronco 2, and
the one that OJ chased in.
Older than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had the locking hubs on the front and everything.
Nice. Okay.
Well, we're out there riding, and we're just hanging out at the time because we'd just throw our water bottles off. So we're up there getting some water, and this Bronco comes pulling off the road and gets down into the pit that we're riding in.
Probably wanting to do some off-road.
Pretty much, man. It was one of those things. He got out there and started cutting some donuts, goes out there, does some drifting around the lot and everything, and then he goes to leave. And like I said, there was that bermed wall we could ride on. He was going up that, got about halfway up, and only had it in two-wheel drive. So he back down. Passenger gets out of the Bronco, comes and locks the hubs on the front. And I mean, we're all motocross guys, and I know that cars and everything intrigue a lot of the motocross riders and stuff, especially when they sound perky. This Broncos had a pretty lick to it whenever he's sitting there idling.
Probably straight piped.
Yeah, straight pipe with a bigger cam and everything, because it was sitting there just locked the hubs, and it dude goes launching up the side of the face. He about jumped out of the pit. So it was like, all right, that's badass, man. Got back on the road and took off down the road. It was like, all right, well, that was cool. I mean,
is that the Bronco becoming a hot rod story?
No, Dad's Dad had the Bronco.
Yeah, the red one that matched the trailer.
Yeah.
Who made that trailer? That trailer, I feel, is like a staple of Georgia motocross. Anybody who's raced in Georgia or been a track ride and had seen that trailer, and it's so unique. I've never ever seen one like it.
It's a high point trailer, and Dad had bought that in '96. He had owned the trailer for, I want to say, like 2 weeks before he broke his back out at Calhoun.
Oh,
so I
know he raced the '94 Tampa Supercross, because we talked about that when we were BSing it one time. So this was close to around that time.
Yeah, definitely a little bit later on. But
he would have hung up the pro. When was he not a pro anymore, kind of thing?
Like going to like Supercross races and stuff,
or doing.
I think the Tampa Supercross race was his last one, because he tells this story about it. We won't go into that too far because he's coming on. Yeah, okay. Then I'll leave that for him, because he definitely tells the story, and I've heard it several times. Obviously, of his kid, but it's one of the things. It's like, yep, I can see that, But no, he's had the Bronco forever. He's the second owner of the Bronco. He used to have a Chariot trailer he'd pull behind it. Sold
like
that.
A horse and buggy Chariot?
Yeah, no.
I know he's old, but damn. Okay.
Nah, he sold that to one of his buddies and bought the High Point trailer.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I know it was someone big at High Point actually delivered the trailer to Dad. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was one of the owners before he had passed away.
Are those the same people that would have made like the High Point boots in the 70s kind of thing?
Not sure on all that. I really don't know. But
Rick or Leanne, somebody answer us if you know the answer to that.
But
oh no. Forgot to plug in my laptop charger. It just told me the battery was low. Holy shit.
But yeah, he had that trailer ordered and everything. Guy brought it down. and like I say, had it for about 2 weeks before he broke his back and wasn't able to do anything with the trailer really. But since then, you know, it's got the wheels on it. He went through, put diamond plate in it,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
and-
beautiful inside.
did all the bells and whistles to it. So, but now the Bronco had a set of mag wheels on it from like 94, 95 all the way up until 2018, 2019, 2020, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, man, love you. I love the mag look and everything, but you know, you're a bit outdated looking on the Bronco just with the wheels. I go, even if you just update the wheels, you know, that might be a good look for the Bronco. And I was riding, my nephews were riding and everything. So Bronco was getting pretty common use. So Dad ended up buying a set of Ford Lightning wheels
Yeah.
and put some BF Goodriches
Like from the
on them.
90s Lightning? kind of
Early
thing?
2000s.
Okay, yeah.
And put those on there. Now he's ended up pulling the motor out of the truck. Him and my brother-in-law have built a 351 Windsor motor with aluminum heads, big cam, full exhaust headers all the way back and everything with a Holley EFI setup.
What year did they do this? Built the motor?
In the past 2, maybe 3 years.
Okay, and it's together and running now?
It's actually gotten to the point where they have the Holley EFI setup getting to where it's pulling fuel from the fuel tank and everything. 'Cause
Oh.
The Holley EFI setup is basically redoing the entire electronics for the truck to have better fuel injection and everything. But Dad sent me a video of the Bronco the other day, and I mean, when your race rig is sitting at a red light, 'cause that's all the Bronco does is pull the trailer to go racing dirt bikes. The Bronco's going to be sitting at a red light sounding like a drag car now. And it's
Probably like that other one.
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, man, you know, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely cool. But it's like, Dad, no one
4 miles a gallon.
4 miles to the gallon. But at the same token, it's like, Dad, no one races dirt bikes anymore. My nephews don't race. I'm not allowed on a dirt bike anymore. Otherwise,
Well, that's what I was going to lead into with this. When it gets done, I feel like you're going to have to take that YZ250 out. So
you look at that camera and you tell my wife,
hey, what's her name again?
Stephanie.
That's right. I don't know why I blanked on her name.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, I'm sorry, but it's part of the Campfire Motor Story contract that he signed before he got here, before he came on the show. I mean, obviously he would have been here to sign it, but yeah, that was part of the deal. So he's gonna have to go riding when the Bronco gets finished. Oh no, I don't want to say that when the Bronco gets finished, because what if she sabotages the finish? Within the next 6 months, whether the Bronco is ready, he is gonna have to go ride and break out the High Point trailer, which I believe it's your mom said that was John Pinton that brought the trailer.
Okay, yeah, and he was, like I said, he was higher up at High Point, if not one of the owners of High Point at the time.
Well, you know who John Pinton is, right?
Not entirely. Like Dad's told me, but I've had a lot of information.
Sorry, folks. Show's over. Out. Get out. Get the fuck out.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
We actually talked about it on the last show. Coleman and I, it somehow worked into the conversation. He essentially brought KTM in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like Joe and I were talking about it mountain biking a few weeks back. He either like KTM used him to do the development or from Austria to come over to here, but essentially like they were one together that brought it into the States.
That's cool.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Now, he may have been part of High Point, or also, you're talking 96. How old were you? Fucking 10, maybe?
Not
No,
even,
not even, yeah.
6 or 7.
So, yeah, if you're 35, that would have been around that time.
Yeah.
No, even younger, if the first one was 98. Either way, we talked about math. It's not, I'm from Florida. I have an excuse. I'm supposed to be bad at, like, math and
Our
English.
education system's worse than Florida's.
Is it?
It's, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even when we were in school?
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, he could have been part of High Point as well, which he was from the Ohio area, which High Point's associated with Pennsylvania. So yeah, it's plausible.
Yeah.
That somebody's probably like, your father-in-law is actually telling you that you can't get on a dirt bike again. Look,
I mean, understandable. I've definitely.
I was about to say something really fucked up, but I'm holding back.
What? No, don't say that one. Don't say that one. No. I mean, don't get me wrong. The options definitely there.
I hope you can read lips.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, we're at like an hour mark. Usually I'll like go into like a different segment. Honestly, I've kind of slacked off with between vacation and pretty sure I had COVID last week, by the way. No, I'm over it now. But yeah, so I didn't get all the segments in. So fuck it, we're going to keep talking for another 15, 20 minutes or so. And in fact, somebody named Leanne Lindell called me while we were doing this show, but I didn't see that was calling. But the phone lines are turned on, so I'm going to go ahead and say, if anybody watching wants to call in, share a story, talk shit to either of us, go for it. We'll try to answer the call. If we're in a segment, I might not be able to, but yeah. Tell Rick he can take Drew racing in the Bronco.
Dan?
Hammond down?
I think that might be my boss from the compressor traveling company, because his son's name is Drew. And
Oh,
man,
hey.
I worked with him a little bit on some cornering and some stuff, and man, here recently he's finally getting that he's getting comfortable on the bike, for one, big time. But he ended up this last year, he was fighting down to the last race of the, it might have been Sorks or another series for the woods racing and stuff, and him and another kid were down to the last race on points. And Dan, my buddy, sent me a video of his son going in. It was like the last two corners before the finish line of the woods race and everything.
Really? Came down to that? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, bro, that's badass, man. The kid's got grit. He's definitely getting out there and starting to put his time and work into it and all that. And I think this upcoming year, he's going to be making a move on some 80s and 85s and stuff.
Establishing connection. She was calling in again. I tried to answer, and it sent it to voice. Something happened. That was weird. Working. All ended. I'm just gonna shut down the system. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe just a glitch going on with it. Try to reopen. All right, let's see if it's working now. Oh, something's going on with my phone system. Oh well, maybe we won't be able to do calls tonight. No, it's coming in again. Campfire Moto Stories, what do you want?
Get Jaron to tell
Talk about how they never wanted to call you?
Yep.
It's on my list, lady. Hold on, which ones? There was something about RM ran out of gas at qualifier. Don't tell mom.
That was Dad's. That was Dad's. So when Dad comes on, that's
so
one
we'll save
for
that
him.
one for him. What was the other one? Broken hip, not wanting to call mom. All right, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, man.
Why not call your mom?
Well, it was one of them things that Dad and I were getting hurt often, more often than you should be getting hurt and everything. And we had just done some motor work to my 125, so we had boarded out to bit over bore and everything. Because I mean, we're racing Calhoun and Bremen. It wasn't any, we're not running Loretta's or anything like that. So I think we had a 145 or something bore on the 125. Dad and I were doing plug readings the week coming up to this race, and it's like we kept getting really lean plug readings on the bike.
Yeah.
So we upped the main jet in the bike massively, and Dad's like, "Well,
I
hell,
just realized you have this massive shadow on your face because your hat. Just take the hat off. How bad's your hair look?
it's probably bad."
No, it looks great. Not too gray. You got less gray than me. Fuck you.
Oh.
There you go. That looks good.
Yeah. Dad and I did plug readings on the bike and everything, trying to get it to be a little bit darker gray because we're getting really light gray on the plug. So we're putting bigger main jets in it, going, if this thing wants more gas, we're not going to fight it. We'll put a bigger main in it and run it that way. First lap of practice, can't jump anything. Second lap of practice, free to do whatever you want, It was at Calhoun. There was a single to a tabletop in the back side of it. And, it wasn't anything massive. It wasn't a crazy jump or anything. But as soon as I went to give it that last little blip off the face of the jump, the motor locked up. So that blip was a brrr.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and rear wheel locked up straight down, over the jump.
And there's a point to that where you just, because I always say you never bail off a bike because the bike has suspension.
Right.
You do everything you can to stay on it. Even if it pogos in the front, there's a little bit of give there that will kind of keep that from going off.
And it was one of those things, though, that the bike with the, pogoing on the front end, I didn't actually get the pogo on it. It just landed front wheel, and I'm riding, so I bail off the bike at that point because I'm about to start cartwheeling down the landing. Apparently I cleared the entire tabletop landing once I bailed off the bike.
Oh, jeez.
Dad and I had talked about it several times and stuff, and we're pretty sure I landed just bent over at the waist because the way your femur sits, you got your femur, and then the head of your femur is kind of angled, and it sits into your hip socket. My femur blew right out the back of the hip socket, and it took a chunk.
Was it a dislocation as well?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I had come to, on the side of the track.
Did you hit your head and pass out, or just from the brake?
That's one thing I'm not sure of because I don't.
It's bad if you pass out from the pain, and that's why I asked that.
Right, because it was one of those things I'm going, I don't remember if it was from the pain or if I had actually smacked my head pretty good.
Probably better you don't remember, honestly.
Probably, because they said I was awake on the side of the track, and I don't remember being awake on the side of the track. I remember being on the stretcher, looking at the Bronco and trailer going, oh shit, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is not good right here. Yeah, at that point, I kept having my friend's mom was like, I had my knee bent, and she was pulling my knee away from me because the head of my femur was up at like my waistline, and she was actually kind of pulling it down and releasing the muscle tension on the femur back there. And it was like, man, we pretty much realized, I messed up.
You're bad at that point.
Yeah.
We had somebody call. That noise was me answering, but I put him on hold. So let's see. It says phone sons. Hey, who do we got on Campfire Moto Stories?
Drew Hansen.
Yeah. This is Dirt Bike Drew.
Hey, make sure I heard a little bit of feedback. If you're watching it live or whatever, make sure that's either paused or where it can't be heard.
Yeah.
What's up, Drew? What story you got to share with us?
About the time from Matt at Calhoun.
You broke up there a minute. Matt at Calhoun?
About the time that I met Jaron at Calhoun.
The time you met him at Calhoun.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, man. Drew was out there racing, and
what bike would he be on, or what year too?
This was
2017,
I think. 2018.
Okay.
No.
So, when was it, Drew?
2020, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, he's definitely right. It was like 2020. He was out there, and we had shown up to the races late. We had actually saw my parents have a piece of property across from theirs, And we had saw the guy that rents that property. He was broke down on the side of the road as we were heading out to Bremen. And we're talking, he's 20 miles away from the house. Like, hey, man, my diesel truck's out of gas. Can y'all run me up to the gas station? I know you guys. Can y'all help me out? So Dad's, of course, like,
help.
yeah, man.
Dad's one of the nicest people ever. Of course he's going to help.
Yeah,
him
so
out.
I think we gave him one of the spare gas cans in the trailer and goes, fill this thing up with diesel and get it back to your truck and everything. I hope it all starts up for you.
Well, yeah, because sometimes you got to prime those things.
Exactly. Yeah. So we ended up getting out to the races. We get out there late. Sign up was coming to a close. So I basically dropped Chase and Garrett off at the sign up tower and go, hey man, y'all get up here, get signed up, fill out my sheet for me, and I'll come out and sign my name and everything. And I parked off in the pits. I found a front row parking spot and parked in between.
I feel like I was at that race, actually. I think you and I raced that race, and you know what? I think you beat me that race.
It was because Tony Bethune was with us, and Brock
Tony
Hinckley.
Kirby was at that race, too, because I remember her being on a 250F and a hole-shotting us almost from the outside. I was like, I can't let Tony beat me.
Yeah.
You know, she's a fast rider and an awesome chick, but I was like, I can't let her beat me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Brock Hinckley was racing with us that race too. And
there was a jump there. It was like rollers or something, and I wouldn't do it for some. It was just one of those things where I know I could, but I wouldn't do it. Right. And I saw you do it, and I was like, fuck me, I gotta do it now.
Was it the single into the whoops?
I think so. I don't know. I remember it ran parallel to that back triple jump or whatever, but I think you snaked back around and then went to it kind of thing. Or you did the back triple jump and you 180'd and it was going the opposite way, paralleling it. But either way, I just do remember that. I think that's the last time we raced together, honestly. But yeah, I think that was the same night.
Because I got pictures of that on my Facebook from, all four of us. It shows Brock, Tony, me, and you all going into the corner right before the finish line, So there are standings and evidence to prove you were in fourth at that at least that lap.
Yeah. No, I thought you won it, and then I got second. Maybe Brock won it, you got second, and I got third.
Because I was chasing Brock down going, damn it, man, I was trying to – there was a corner right after the finish line that I was trying to square him up on, man, every time. And I was like, man, if I can nail this square up on this corner perfect, I might be able to get past him down the front straight and overtake him on the outside. I couldn't catch him.
Well, Drew, you might remember this then. Would it have been really close to 4th of July? Because I remember my kid was still a baby.
No, it was
then.
like August time frame. It was like August time frame.
Well, that's kind of close to 4th of July. I just remember there's a picture of me holding my kid, and he's real little, Troy Travis, and I had like American Star sunglasses on or some shit.
It wasn't that race. I know that.
No, the race there enough. They kind of went together. But yeah. That's why I'm asking, because, hell, he's probably going to remember it better than I am.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's like, Drew, how long had you been racing before that point?
I only done like one race, and it was like a GNCC on a TTR 50.
Yeah.
Did a GNCC?
So not very long.
Well, their loop is kind of small. Was it a Sorks or a GNCC?
GNCC, the Bulldog, when it used to be called that.
What city or what state is that in? Bulldog?
Georgia. It was Iona Pass.
I thought that was always
motocross.
called the General.
Yeah, I think they renamed it like right after that.
Okay. Yeah, I always referred to that one as the General, but it could have changed at some point.
So
well, then at some point it went to Sparta, so they called it something else, and then it went back or whatever the case was. But yeah.
And it's like you hear he's been racing. It's been 4 years now, and he's on top of his game going into this next class. It's one of them things that the progression of the riders and everything nowadays is growing so exponentially, man.
I feel like anybody that can really dedicate 2 years to 1 day a week riding can get to a level really close to whether of what you're at, but if you really dedicate and try to hone in, and hell, you have so many things now to where you can watch things to learn how to do it. You don't have to have somebody to teach you those things. So if you really want to focus to that, you can get to that level to where you're at not really like a solid what I would say a mid B rider kind of thing, where
Yeah.
you were comfortable enough to maneuver the bike and do it. But also then when you get to that point, you don't crash as often, but when you do,
Yeah,
you
you're going a
generally
little bit faster.
You get jacked up kind of thing. But so Drew, he was mentioning something about that last Sorks race, and I even though it was like 5 minutes ago, I forgot. So did you end up coming victorious or no?
No, I kind of let off the gas, ran into his back tire, and went straight into a tree.
No. You didn't get hurt though, right?
No, I ended up smacking the bike against the tree. My body went right next to the bike.
Well, we've
You
all
still
been there.
finished second that race, right? Though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
had a huge gap on third.
okay, because you got second overall for points and everything that round or that whole series too, right?
Yeah,
Because that kid you were battling for the lead for the points lead of the series that whole last round. And I mean, the kid's got grit, man. It's one of them things. He's gonna drive it in because his dad sent me the video, and it's like, hey, man, I know he didn't make the pass, but you're super proud of him because it's like,
Yeah.
bro's running it in on old dude in first place, trying to get that lead from him.
So even though you didn't get it done, Drew, how did you feel, man? Were you upset? Were you happy with your effort? Were you like, hey, I left it all out on the table?
I was happy and a little upset because I could have made a pass way earlier on in the race, but honestly, how it ended up, I was happy with it.
Then
It's-
good. That's at the end of the day, if you were healthy and you did what you felt you could do, then, but with that too, you said you left a little something on the table. So you just got to package that up for the next time.
I think I've been talking with his dad a little bit here and there. You're trying to go a little more moto this year, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where are you riding this
I
weekend? I
am.
just got released from my knee injury to ride at since November. I'm thinking about going to Fannin on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, there's a practice, and then I believe there's a race the next day.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
racing.
gonna be there.
I think Drew, you need to go out to Fannin and go check out
It's a
Fannin County.
possibility. I'm between Sand Mountain, Big Springs. Oh my God, WMMX up in Tennessee is actually a lot of fun, and then I saw Fannin is, but I can't see if any of those other three are practicing or not. But I am riding somewhere this weekend.
Yeah, I don't.
This will be the
blame you,
first
man.
weekend since
Yeah.
November 5th that I blew my knee out. So I'm ready to go. Which I didn't want to talk about that too much because you're not allowed to ride because you're whipped. And with good reason, Stephanie. I was there for the last one and the one before. And I think the one before. Well, hell, Drew, were you there with him racing the XR200 and the 250 C class at Sorks?
Yeah.
Him and his dad are the one that
Yeah.
talked me into going and
Yeah.
racing this race.
Yeah. I believe I finished like 11th place that race in my class.
I know there was some scoring issues. I think your
There's
dad had to
always
jump
boring issues.
Yeah.
in and chit chat with some people. But yeah, man, Drew and his dad were the one that were like, bro.
I was it too.
You
I
were,
was
most
encouraging
definitely.
it. Yeah.
Because I remember, dude.
What year is that XR200?
90.
I thought it was 90s. I felt like 97.
96 or 97,
Yeah.
somewhere in that ballpark. And it took a little bit to get the
You got up to like
cleaned.
second, I think.
Yeah, because
And you were running second almost the whole race because I went there early to see that. That was at a Chattanooga race. I don't remember the name of the event, but I do.
Scurry and
Chatsworth.
the Dirty Murray.
It was Chatsworth race. Maybe
Yes.
that was it.
Yeah, that was the race. Starting
Yep.
Dirty Murray.
Yep. And yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm sitting on the starting line. Drew comes up. He's like, "Hey, man, it's 5 laps." I was like, "Ha, that's funny." He wasn't kidding. It was 5 laps, and it's 2 hours of riding. You know, I'm moto. Been moto all my life. This is the first time I've ever raced in the woods, and it's like, I'm gonna go out there on the next.
It was cold
R200.
that day too.
It was because I ended up having a jacket on.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
I got through most of the moto, and it's like, man, I want to stop and take the jacket off. But at the same token, I don't want to stop. Say, I mean, I'm on an XR200.
You just unzip it. Each lap it gets three more inches unzipped.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had a Camelback.
Then it's blowing
on and
up.
everything. Yeah. But now my main goal of this whole race was to beat Drew's dad, which was my boss.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, man,
Yeah,
I
that
got
ended up happening.
do what?
That ended up happening.
I thought you broke your ankle that race and didn't finish. Did you finish?
I finished, yeah.
And you broke your
You
ankle.
finished?
Yep.
Yeah.
I ended up getting 8th or 9th, I think, after running.
You were in
second
second
off.
for almost the whole time. I remember
'Cause
that.
You came up to me after the race and were like, man, dude, after y'all had finished B and A runs, you said that my lap time for one of the laps I did was close to the early B lap times.
Yeah, I mean,
But then I'm sitting here
plausible.
going, well, man, maybe I'll
the
run
trail
B
breaks
next
down.
night.
The trail breaks down,
And that's
so much.
exactly
Or
what
I
you
was
said.
feeding you bullshit to try to get you to
That
encourage you to
I can
come
see you
racing.
doing that, yeah. But nah, man, seriously?
No.
Yeah. But seriously, that was the most fun I'd had on a dirt bike until running into the tree and breaking my foot. Going, man, dude, this is an absolute blast.
Well, especially on an XR200.
Yeah, because it's like all these, my Drew's dad was out there and he's on a Husky 450 at the point in time he was riding, and you can't use the power from that thing out in the woods, especially not as much as you could use the XR's power to be able to maneuver through the trees and everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was, I even have the GoPro from it and everything. I was all over, I call him Danward because he goes by Dan or Edward. It depends on how you know him. But I was catching up to Danward, man, and I'm all on his tail. And it's like first lap mentality of a motocross racer compared to a woods rider is totally 100% different. Like, a woods racer will stay back and maintain, and then usually later in the race, they'll start moving their way up. I'm sitting there going, I got to get to the front first lap. And it's like, oh, Jesus, man, this
Which
line's
honestly,
never
it's
ending.
funny that you say that because I come from Moto. My thought has always been to get to the front. Is that a woods thing to where you maintain?
I'm thinking so, just for the fact that
It is not.
well, it's one of those things you never get to the front because there's so many classes that take off in front of you.
Oh, that kind of front. Not the front of your class. Just
Well,
kinda.
obviously, yeah, you want to be in the front of your class, but you're coming up on people. I'm not reading the back of the sticker on their helmet to see what class they're in. That's a competitor. I got to pass him. So it's, one of the things we got going through the race and all that. And I caught up to Drew's dad, Danward, and I'm sitting there catching up to him. And there's one point where I even got it on GoPro. I'm trying to pass him. I've run up next to him several times and got my front wheel like up to his gas tank. And then his 450 power just goes, "Bwah," and pulls back up on me. So we're going into a really tight right-hander, and I was like, oh, there's a gap between these two trees that I know I could fit my handlebars through. So I go between the two trees and slide the rear end in on Danward, and I yell back at him. I'm like, sorry, Ed. Take off going and everything. And he's like, bro, you screwed me so bad in that turn. It's like, sorry, man. I tried to get around you a couple times, but I was just trying to move to the front. So, nah, it was a fun race and everything, being able to go out there and race in the woods.
I'm proud to
do something
that
different.
got brought up because that was one of the things I actually wrote down. I mean, hell, we still have more, and we might get to them, but shit, I'm 30 minutes past the time we usually just bullshit. So let's screw it. It's my show. I can do what I want to.
Right.
Well, Drew, I'm glad you called in, and you earned yourself 100 entries into a YZ250 giveaway by calling in.
All right.
Because that's the thing. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and use this time. I wanted to do this early on. I kind of forgot. Send in stories. I'm running low on stories. So send in stories anytime. 678 7. No, shit. Samsonite. 844. No.
309.
844-789-2367. You can call and leave a voicemail anytime, up to 8 minutes. We want to hear stories from you guys. Just this show is kind of built for just the average person to be able to send in stories because the average person doesn't have a way to normally send in stories. There's so many epic ones out there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Drew, thanks for calling in again, man. And I'll get your number from Jaron. Maybe we'll see you Saturday.
All right.
All right, buddy. See ya.
See you, Drew.
All right.
All right, so we got to get into some of these segments. I don't have to, but I've got to.
It's time for Billy Eisenacher's Tech Tips.
Transform your comfort with Innovative Mechanical LLC, specializing in HVAC service for residential and commercial properties. They provide expert installation, maintenance, and repair. Their certified technicians ensure top-notch service, whether it's air conditioning, heating systems, or indoor air quality solutions. Serving Georgia since 1999, they prioritize customer satisfaction with prompt, reliable service at competitive rates. Routine maintenance to emergency repairs. Trust Innovative Mechanical LLC for all your HVAC needs. Give them a call at 770-726-7407 or visit innovativemechanical.llc.com to schedule service and experience unparalleled comfort today. All right, so I don't officially have something from Billy because I've just been sick. And he's busy and all this other stuff. And frankly, lucky for me, I'm a pretty damn good technician myself. So I want to share with you guys a little trick that I learned years ago because I destroyed so many subframes in my day. So you got a bent subframe. Awesome little trick here. Look at I got this good example. This is a buddy of mine, Austin Spike, he brought to me one time. Completely tweaked. Things gnarly sideways. What did I just do? Huh. Yeah, you can clearly see how bad this thing is. So, one of the tricks with it is, once you get it down to this section, you want to take all the bolts that hold the subframe together, and you just loosen them up to where they're just barely holding it. Well, about 3 threads. Put them back in, take it apart, put it back in about 3 threads. What that does, it gives it a little bit extra mobility while you're trying to straighten it. And really, one of the best places to do this, and more than likely you're at a track or somewhere where like that will have a gate if you're at a practice or whatever, is the starting bar. So the bar that they put in to open the gate, go grab that thing, and you can wedge it in. And if you you basically, anytime you're with like a crash situation, you want to go, you're almost like a detective at this point, where you're like, don't stand up. You're going to be in front of the camera. You're kind of go, okay, I crashed this way. It's bent to this angle going that way. So you want to basically do the opposite direction of how it's bent. And so you basically will take a bar and you'll stick it into that direction. Now, one of the things that you will need is at least 2 other friends, because you need one holding the rear tire, one holding the front tire. And sometimes you might have to work the angle to where you set the side of the frame on like a stand with it too. It's all a matter of like angle and leverage and that kind of stuff. And after 2 or 3 times doing this, you're going to get pretty damn good at it. But once you get that leverage right, you basically want to only go 5 to 10% past what is straight. So let's say that this is perfectly straight, bent this way, right? This is perfectly straight. You need to go back to here because metal has memory in it. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And so once you, or elasticity, maybe would be a better way to say memory. I don't know. But either way, you do a little bit past, and that way when you release that pressure, it comes to that straightness. But let's say you go to the 5 to 10% and you come back and it's not straight, then you go to 15 to 20. But there is this fine line in, hell, I mean, Jaron, you can probably elaborate on this with brake levers. I'm sure you've tried to straighten a brake lever back before, right?
And handlebars.
You can only go to a certain point before it snaps off.
Yep.
So there's a very fine line, and you almost have to be listening really well. Let it talk to you to where you hear that kind of noise that it's making or whatever. But if you do it right, it's a beautiful thing. Then your subframe is perfectly back straight. And instead of spending $150 for a new subframe, it looks beautiful. So even though I couldn't get Billy's tech tip, I wanted to share that one with you guys. Maybe I'll have to change it from being Billy Eisenacher's tech tips, and it'll just be tech tips.
Anthony's tech tips.
Maybe. I do have a lot of awesome little tips that I'd love to share. Kind of one of the things I'm doing this. I like to just share knowledge and info, and I heard you guys talking, or if anybody watched any of the other shows where I've talked about the stolen bikes, I've tried to give advice on how to avoid those kind of situations so that you don't get into those. And in fact, I'm going to skip a segment, and we're going to go into the next stolen bike, or go into our stolen bike segment. So this poor dude, Jim Bernard. I found this on a New Jersey, PA stolen dirt bikes, but actually he had shared it in the stolen motorcycle group that I joined to kind of see these things so I can share them. This dude himself is giving $1,000 reward for this bike. That's a badass supermoto bike.
I was about to say, that thing looks pretty sweet.
Yeah. So he's obviously up in the Northeast somewhere. Poor dude got his bike stolen. Oh, it says right there. Millville, New Jersey. Help get this thing back. He's offering $1,000. And hey, here's the thing too. Even though it's not likely to happen, I'm offering 500 entries into the YZ250 giveaway if you actually somehow help recover this dude's bike. So help him recover this bike. Sucks getting your shit stolen. And also, get insurance on your shit so if it does get stolen, it's not that big a deal. So, all right. Let's get on to our next segment, shall we? Oh, well, I almost skipped that one on accident. So, it's one of my personal favorite ones. It's assholes on the internet. Jaron, there's always assholes on the internet. And as you know, I'm one of them a lot of times. I like to stir the pot. And I think it's just hilarious the way that things work out with it. So, after we, on the very first show with Brandon and Joe, he was giving Tammy that runs Sork some shit about the awards. And we know Tammy well. Like, we call her up if we wanted to and have a friendly chat. So we've mentioned it before, and we will lightly give her crap about it kind of thing. And we understand why they're running that one. But he had made a comment about the blacks suck kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I posted that clip into the Sorks group, and somebody comes up with this first guy. I mean, this first comment's a total asshole. I can't believe he said that. Remove his championship. I'm going to go ahead and push for this because, he won the championship that year, and I got second. So I think that should get revoked. I don't know who said that, but that guy is a genius at saying that. Yeah, I don't know who said it, but really smart dude. And Tammy, somehow this gets to you. I think you should revoke his championship for that year. The next guy, I don't see any problem with him. Kind of a dick thing to say. But what's funny with that too is because even Brandon was like, "Did you see that guy? He doesn't realize that I'm joking. Like, I don't care. I think how they do things is awesome." But yeah, he just wanted to say it because we were doing like an HKR read with that kind of thing. So he was giving them a little bit of a plug. But
do you think it's one of the things where he's talking about giving Brandon beef about it? Because what was it? Did Brandon slow up by the finish line for you to be able to beat him one race or something?
Yeah, well, that was just so I could secure my championship or it's not championship, the second place that year. Or
oh, gotcha.
But no, it was just based on that. Whoever said it doesn't watch the show. It was just that clip that they saw.
Oh,
so.
No, give him a tosser and move on.
Somebody else within the same thing, and I honestly, I don't remember who said this, but Brandon is a goon, but his hair is stylish, so I guess we can forgive him.
Dude, I think that's me.
What's that?
I think that's me. Is it?
Is that you?
I'm pretty sure that's me.
That's great.
Yeah, because I commented on the first video. And yeah, man, I've ridden with Brandon a bunch.
That was not planned. I swear to you, that was not planned. That's awesome. Oh, that's fucking funny.
Yeah, hold on. Now that you're saying it, man,
you're not going to be able to find it. It was a month and a half ago.
It was the first video.
Yeah, but you probably have commented on a few of them. You're not going to be able to find that thing. To get the second one ready while you're checking on it. It's kind of loud. I might have to turn the volume down for that thing. All right, so forget about that thing. Check this out. So my buddy Nick Campbell, he was at Travelers Rest 2 weekends ago, and they were kind of doing a big race there. I almost want to say Josh, but I think it was Justin. Justin Hill was there on a Stark.
Is this the race where the A class went berserk?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody else has seen these videos, but Nick has this awesome angle of this thing. And oh, all right, let's show this thing. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit so that it's not so loud. All right, so here's the start. There he is on the start. He hooks this huge jump coming up here. There it is.
Yeah. Dang.
It gets better.
That is such a big jump. Oh my.
Tucks the front.
Oh.
It gets better. Hold on. It's an electric bike, right? Yeah.
Did he take another dude out with a bike?
Yeah. Dude, that was the best electric whiskey throttle video I think I've ever seen. Because you see him pick it up.
Disappeared.
Yeah. I wonder if he had it on the 80 horsepower setting when it.
Oh, I guarantee it. Because if I'm not mistaken, the purse for that A race was pretty.
It was pretty
a
big,
decent
yeah.
big purse and everything too.
Yeah, he sent that video in one of our my groups that I'm on through like IG. He's like, guys, check this video out. It's awesome. And I was like, holy shit, send that to me. I'm putting that on the show. Now Nick has 100 entries into a YC250 giveaway. So if you got cool stories, if you got cool videos, this show is for you. Send in some stories. Like this next one we're going to play. In fact, we're going to play this next one. A little long. It's actually Chris Turner, one of my buddies. That he's already sent in the story we played on the first one. It was epic. But we'll play this one as well. And but send in your own story, for real. Like, I want to have a section where I can play 3 to 4 of your guys' story. We banter back and forth in the studio about it. And one thing that sucks, too, is I feel like so many people, they get in their own head with, oh, I don't have this good story, or I'm going to fuck it up telling it. No. Like, just, like, if that's what brought this up, is, like, you go to any place to go ride, you're sitting around between your motos, or even, like, at a dinner, if you went for a long street bike ride, you're going to talk about old past riding stories. Like, there is one. Everybody has at least one good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of guys have thousands.
Yep.
Like, send them in.
Well, it's
Share
like
this
you
with
and
your
I
people.
sitting here talking about the podcast
we could
before
go-
it even happened. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, I just want to make sure my stories are going to be up to par with what's been on so far, you know?
Yeah.
It,
All right, so we're going to play this. Let you guys have a little listen. Send your own stories. Let them get shared. These stories are brought to you by On-Road Riders. Get on the road safely with On-Road Riders. They offer Georgia-certified training through the Motorcycle Safety Foundation Basic Rider Course, 2-wheels and 3-wheel motor, enabling you to obtain your motorcycle license hassle-free. Their mission is to instill essential skills for safe motorcycle operation, save lives. You'll learn from certified coaches covering everything from clutch friction zone techniques to obstacle avoidance. They currently have 2 convenient locations, Mountain Motor Conyers and Georgia's Best Fireworks. At just 16 years old, you can enroll and upon a successful completion, receive a waiver for Georgia DDS motorcycle license. Visit onroadriders.com to start riding safely today.
All right. Story number 2. Let's do this. Year 2007. Gotten through the Rookies Cup at this point. Up and downs. I had a couple of good races. Put it on the podium a couple times. Was up close to the front a few times. Obviously, I had a few races where things didn't go my way. We won't get into that. But had some mechanicals. Had some stuff that shouldn't have happened. Some of it was on me. You know, it is what it is. But at this point, I come back home and I feel like a different person than I was a year ago. You know, like I said before, when I went to the Rookies Cup for the selection tryout, I had only been road racing for a year. I did minis on go-kart tracks in 2005, but I went and did We're a Novice in 2006, and then I straight to the Rookies Cup in 07. So everything's moving quick for me, you know. So I felt like I gained a lot of experience in 07. You know, I was racing with some guys that went on to have a mega careers. And I learned a lot. I learned how to go fast. I learned how to race at a fast pace. So I show up at Road Atlanta. There was a USGP RU special event. It was like in conjunction with the AMA race there at the end of the year. So a lot of big names there. And my boy, PJ Jacobson, had been a thorn in my side for a lot of that year. I didn't do a whole lot of races in the U.S. that year because it was costing so much to go to Europe and all that. But the few races I did, I felt like PJ was always just right there, you know, and he was riding that A-Kit RS 125 for Celtic. Really nice bike. Yeah, I think those bikes, I don't know. I don't remember what the price of those A-Kit bikes were, but they were 5-6 times more than what I was riding. I was riding a stock 1997, 96, I believe, something around there, RS 125. But I knew Road Atlanta. I loved Road Atlanta. I always felt like I was quick there. So we get, man, it was Saturday, I believe, qualifying day. Me and my buddy Connor LaFrance, rest in peace, Connor. Me and him got out on Connor's Zuma, going to ride around, you know, just go watch, not doing anything crazy. Tyler Odom and Elena Myers were hanging out with us. They're riding around on a pit bike with us. We went over to turn 7 to watch. We're sitting there, you know, nothing crazy, just sitting there hanging out, not doing any wheelies, not trying to get in trouble, nothing like that, like, you know, probably like we normally would be. So Connor, I was like, hey, let me see the Zuma. I'm going to run over here to the Portaloo and take a urinate. I'm not sure if I can cuss on this or not. Sorry, AB. Anyway, so I go over to the Porta John, you know, I pee, come back, you know, whenever I get on this scooter, I kind of just rock it off the center stand and take off like pretty much everybody does. Ride over to the guardrails, sit back, you know, Connor gets back on, we're sitting on the Zuma together watching, and all of a sudden the security guard comes up, starts yelling at us. And I kind of just, you know, I feel the weight of what this weekend is. You know, I'm trying to stay out of trouble, you know, and he comes up yelling, and I'm trying to kind of calm the situation a little bit, you know, and it felt like it may have been working a little bit. And man, Connor wasn't having it. Oh, Connor just laid into him. He didn't do nothing wrong, blah, blah, blah. The security guard was claiming that I did a stoppie on the Zuma with Connor on the back of it. Anyone listening to this knows that that's physically impossible. I don't even have to explain that I did not do a stoppie on a Zuma with somebody on the back of it. Well, anyways, I explained to the guy, look, man, whatever you think you saw, I'm sorry. We'll go back to the pits, keep it calm, blah, blah. Nah, Connor was just getting into it with him. And looking back now, man, it's so funny because, like, it's who he was, man. He was so passionate, and he knew I didn't do anything wrong. He knew he didn't do anything wrong. The guy was just being a prick. Shout out to Road Atlanta's awesome security guards. But finally, it kind of came to a head. And the security guard says, you need to call your parents and get them over here right now. So I call my dad. He drives the car over there, pick me up. He looks at me. All he knows is that I'm in trouble. He looks at me very sternly, points at the car and says, go get in the car. So I go sit down in the front seat, and I hear my dad walk up to the security guard and say, what'd he do? Security guard told him, he said, well, he did a stoppie on that motorcycle there with somebody on the back. And my dad starts laughing at him and said, no, he didn't. You can't do that. So next thing I know, me and my dad both getting kicked out, escorted off the premises, not allowed to be there anymore. What do we do now? You know, like, I mean, this is a big race weekend for me. This is, you know, looking back now, USGPRU race, but AMA weekend, like I said before, big teams, big name eyes looking at us, watching, seeing what's going on. This isn't a good look. We make some phone calls. I think I actually called Stuart A. Kincaid, the guy that was, owner, runner of USGPRU. Kind of explained the situation to him, and I guess he already knew what was going on. He got in touch with the right people. And when I say the right people, I don't know who all was there. I don't know how long it lasted. I don't know any details, but all I do know is that Kevin Schwantz saved my butt that day. They had a meeting. Kevin Schwantz sat in on it, told them basically, like, dude, y'all can't be doing this. Even if I had done something, this is a little too far. And to this day, I believe that Schwantzy is the one that had enough leverage to get me back in there, man. I got a call from Stuart a couple hours after that. We were sitting at the Waffle House, of course. And he's just like, hey, man, you're good to go. Gotta keep it, don't be riding pit bike around. Don't be getting in trouble, blah, blah, blah. And then he told me, like, Kevin saved you there, man. So I don't know if I ever really properly thanked Kevin Schwantz for that. But if you ever listen to this, thanks, man. I do remember the next day I actually got to meet Kevin Schwantz. I think that was the first time I met him and got to talk to him for a little bit. And just, man, it was just, super cool guy. Anyways, wake up next morning. Time to go for the track, right? This is it. It's race day. Let's go. First warm-up practice of the day. Feeling good, throwing down some good lap times. Come out of 10B, come up over the hill, wide open on a 125. This is old turn 12, so I'm not planning on lifting until I get to turn 1. Come over the hill. I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to be that guy, but there's a guy pushing his bike across the track, trying to get the pit in the middle of the session. Okay. I had no time to do anything. I yanked the front brake as hard as I could, T-boned the guy. I endoed. I don't even know what happened to him. I don't know. But I remember hitting the bike and I endoed down the hill. I slid about 3/4 of the way down the hill. I think I rung my bell a little bit. I'm laying there in the middle of the track and I hear someone screaming my name. I look over and see old race legend Dino Swims yelling at me, Chris, are you okay? Chris, are you okay? And anybody that knows Dino could probably imagine that voice yelling that. But like, dude, I'm halfway out of it. All I hear is Dino's voice yelling. I don't know where he's at. I can't see him anywhere. I just hear him. I finally had eyes on him. He's standing over at the fence. But that was a weird way to come back to. So eventually I got my way back to the truck, to the car, whatever we were in. And my dad kept asking me, he said, what happened? It's like, I remember somebody was pushing their bike across the track and I hit him. That's all I know. Which I did find out who it was. Again, it is what it is. So then at that point, it's a couple hours later, I'm still a little woozy, not feeling great. It's race time. Believe Nobi Iso was there on the Aprilia. Lena Myers there. Like I said earlier, Tyler Odom. There's a bunch of fast guys there and girls. So I know my work's cut out for me, but I think it was like a 10-lap race. Me and PJ kind of checked out pretty early. I don't really remember a whole lot from the race. It was 17 years ago now, I think. But I do know that I kept getting a good run on PJ through the S's and passing him on the inside going into 5, which is one of my favorite passes to do anywhere. And I think, I kept beating him, somewhere between turn 1 through the rollers up through 5, somewhere almost every lap I would get back in front of him. And I remember I would just do everything that I could to break him from 5 to 7, which it's not enough room to break somebody. And we get to the back straightaway every lap and he would just blow by me. And I finally got to a point where I could get him early enough in the lap that I could break him enough. We get to the back straightaway. He wasn't able to just blow by me anymore. He's able to suck up to me right before we get on the brakes, or, he was still behind me when we get on the brakes. And it being an AMA weekend, there's a big jumbotron over there across the gravel trap on the side of the hill. And if you look up when you're getting on the brake, no, on a 125, you're not braking until the 100 mark, all the way at the bottom of the hill. So what I would do, I'd come out of 9. I would glance up at that jumbotron, see where PJ was, and then just kind of drift over in front of him before I'd get on the brakes. And looking back now, I don't even know if I could do that now. Like then in that moment, it just felt like I just got a glimpse of it one lap and I saw him and I was like, oh, wow, that might be an advantage for me if I keep that, So every lap I would just see where he was at and I would just kind of play the block game, And I knew if I could beat him through 10A, that I could beat him to the line. No problems at all. And come all the way down to the last lap, look up at the jumbotron, get on the brakes, move left just a hair, turn in. All right. Oh, it's good to go. I'm leading into 10A, get a good drive through 10B, come up over the hill. Again, I'm not going to name any names, but there's a lapper basically, I don't know, maybe 20 mile an hour slower than we were going into turn 12. And I had to roll off just a hair. That's all it was, just a hair to get around him. Because I honestly, maybe I didn't have to roll off. But it was so tight that I was like, I don't know that I can clear this guy before we get into this turn. So and I don't even know that I cracked it all the way, but I cracked the throttle a little bit, got back on it, rolled around the outside of him. Next thing I know, here comes PJ around the outside of me, takes the win. I got second. I'm mad. Horrible weekend, whatever. But now, I've got to tell you what, when I look back at it now, I think that was one of the coolest weekends that I had in my whole racing career because it was one of the funnest races I've ever had. I got to meet a man, y'all might have heard of him, named John Ulrich that weekend. That sparked lifelong friendship to this day and a relationship. I went and raced for M4 that next year, I believe because of that weekend, Got to spray John Ulrich with, not champagne because we were kids, but with sparkling apple juice or whatever they gave us. Got to spray my family. That was the first time that I was on a pro podium. They let us use the AMA podium. So whole ordeal, man. Looking back now, dude, I got to race with some really, really cool and fast guys. And that weekend right there has always stuck out to me.
All right, we're back. Chris, thanks for sending that story, man. That was actually awesome.
That's a neat story, man. Just sitting here listening to it. He told it well enough too that you're in his eyes and in his perspective listening to the story. Yep. It's like, oh yeah, come on, man, you got it.
Yeah, and so you didn't know who John Pinton is? Do you know who? Oh my God, Kevin Schwantz.
It sounds like one of them things I should know who he is.
You should.
I
I'll give you a little leeway because it is kind of before your time, but the dude won Moto GP one year.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
he won
cool.
it. I want to say it was in the 80s or so, but the dude's a badass on a bike. And I actually, at one time, it's kind of funny, like I hit you up because I was kind of last minute, like, dude, I got to come on the show. My buddy Opie, I tried to get him on, Opie Kaler, who's a road racer, real well known in this area, because there's that movie coming out on Amazon Prime today called One Fast Move. I'm giving a little bit of a plug, I know, but Opie was a stunt guy on it, and I was like, oh, how awesome would it be to get him on the show the same day that movie comes out. I was planning to wake up at 5 a.m. because I couldn't watch it last night,
right? And
then like be able to banter about the movie kind of thing, but yeah, I couldn't get him on. He had other obligations and stuff he had to do. But I got to go to lunch with Kevin Schwantz one time because of Opie. I was working at a shop where I was the assistant service manager. Opie was one of the techs. And he's like, hey, Kevin Schwantz just hit me up. He's in town. We're going to go to lunch at a Mexican restaurant. You want to go? I'm like,
absolutely.
Fuck yeah, I want to go. So that was definitely one of like the cooler kind of things. Oh, somebody else is calling in right now. Let's see what we got. Hey, you're on with Campfire Moto Stories. Who we got?
This is anonymous, but I just wanted to say fuck both of you for getting naked on my bike together, you bunch of...
I don't think that's anonymous.
I don't know who that is, but he's telling some weird lies. I don't know.
I don't recall being naked on a motorcycle at all.
Nope.
No, never.
And
you ever put a dirt bike in the garbage can?
I have put a dirt bike in the garbage can, actually. That's kind of funny you say that. You know, see, that voice sounds familiar. I think the guy that owns the bike I put in the garbage can. That was actually really funny. I want to say that was the weekend that he blew it up. We were at Croom. We talked about it on the first show that he was at. That was Brandon Thompson, by the way. But he, it was Nick when I was telling you that Nick kind of actually renovated this apartment we're in, where the studio is now. But Nick was still here, and I hit him up and was like, Nick, you got to help me. I'm going to get Brandon's bike in the trash can because he won't come pick it up. And basically do a little picture with it. So we had to load it into the bed of my truck, but then we had to back it into the trash can, and it was beautifully balanced, but it was just a tick forward. So you just had to hold the rear. I'm seriously like a feather. You had to hold the rear fender.
Yeah.
So then once we got it in the trash can, we're holding the fender, we turn it a little bit, and then like I made sure to crop out the one tiny little finger hold with it. And posted a thing like, hey, he won't come pick up his bike, so I'm putting it on the curb today. So it was this awesome picture. In fact, God, I don't want to dig through kind of finding it. Maybe I'll edit into it later. But
Well, it's like, I know you're well known for what we did to Brandon's bike.
We're not going to talk about that yet. We're not ready. We're only into the 3 episodes.
How many episodes are you going to give it before you do talk about it?
I want the godfathers of starting that tradition to be in studio, and then we're going to talk about it. So I'm not going to steal the limelight from those 2 guys.
My only thing is like, I thought you were, obviously it's been around a while, you know.
About 10 years.
Yeah. But, you know, before you started going around and doing it, because
you only found out about it from me. It was going on a little bit before me. At least
obviously
5 to 6 years.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, going to the full extent we did on.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because you know.
No, we can't talk about this.
I won't go any further. I won't go any further. It is one thing though that it's like, man, I've heard about whose bikes you have been on to do this.
There's some big names, but like I said, I don't want to go any further into this because that is going to be a show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Let's reach back out to this guy. We'll see if he's got anything else to add to this. I can't believe I didn't recognize one of my best friend's fucking numbers calling.
Well, it's one of the things, you got all the numbers programmed into your phone nowadays. It's like, oh, I'm gonna call so and so. Well, don't know their number, but I know their names in my phone.
It won't let me call out, but it takes the calls coming in.
Guys, looking through a lot of old photographs and stuff, you know, coming into the studio to talk with you and everything on Campfire Moto Stories, and there's just a lot of stuff, man, over the years. One, Brandon has had several different bikes over the years, and I had found one of it was a day that me, Chase, and Garrett and my dad were all out riding at Mill Creek, and I think you and Brandon and someone else came out there.
Probably James Fawcett.
It could have been. It could have been, because Brandon was out there on the KTM with the translucent plastics on it. The clear
The
plastic.
only time that was Aonia, but I know you weren't at Aonia.
That was Mill Creek. I got pictures of it on my phone.
I might have not been there that day. I don't remember going to. It could have been. I actually have a really awesome video if it's that same weekend where I entered the rollers on the, like, after I got chewed up on the wrong side and just helicoptered. About the 5th one. Because by the 2nd one, you're swapped. By the 4th one, you're sideways. And by the 5th, you're...
Yeah, you're completely perpendicular to your angle of trajectory.
Yeah. Well, we don't want the fun to end. It is 9 o'clock. This is usually when we end the show, but we're having too much fun. Let's get back to some of these other stories that we got since I got you in studio. All right, I'm going back. So, all right, Mike Porter mentioned a comment. he said little kid tried to squid but came out squidby.
No. It's my dad and Mike Porter have known each other since I was little. And Mike Porter was racing a whole bunch back in the 90s and stuff, and I couldn't pronounce squid because I wanted to call him a squid, but I couldn't pronounce it, so I called him a squirb.
A squirb. Okay, it was a Q. Yes, now that you say that.
Yeah, so it became pretty common at the races that Mike would call me Squirb every time I saw him. He's like, "Hey, Squirb, what you doing?" And then as a little kid, you know, I'm trying to call him a squid, and it's like I'm calling him a squirb. So not really piss you off, but it's one of them things. It's like, damn it, man, I'm trying to call you a derogatory name. Take it.
I'm trying to make fun of you.
Yeah.
Don't you fucking make fun of me.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, you're talking, I'm 4 or 5 years old on a PW50 at this point in time. And yeah, man, it's still. I messaged him back on that post. I'm like, bro,
yeah, I was like, what is a squirb? Yeah,
it's a squid. It's a squid, but I couldn't pronounce squid, so it was a squirb. And nowadays, still, it's like I think Terry Hunter commented underneath it, going, yeah, they're all squids nowadays, or something along those lines.
They're squirps. I'm sure he said they're all squirps nowadays or whatever.
So it's one of them things that, yeah, we're all squirps at this point.
So, Cocoa Beach Winter Am Rip Pants was a note you sent me, and I hope
that's Dad's.
Oh, damn it. Okay, I did try to filter out the ones that were your dad, like you said, Dad, and then would read.
Yeah, I sent you a lot of notes on different things, and it's one of those things that I should have.
Cocoa Beach waving at wife at ambulance. Is that a dad story too?
That's a dad story, but I can tell you that one.
No,
man.
Cobra. This is gonna be yours for sure. Cobra 50 sucking paint through carb. What was up with that?
We had got a Cobra. Dad had tracked one down. He had bought an LEM out at Calhoun.
Okay.
You remember LEMs?
Yeah.
Cheap Chinese 50s.
Yep.
And ran the LEM a few races, wasn't up to par for what we thought it was and everything. So Dad tracked down a Cobra. He goes, "Hey, man, we're going to get you a Cobra." So we, I think it was South Carolina. Drove up to South Carolina. Dude owned a motorcycle shop up there, and I think it was his daughter's. But what they did is they spray painted the bike white to look like a YZ, if I'm not mistaken. So Dad and I get the bike, get it back down here to Georgia, and cleaning it all up, going through it, just making sure all your general maintenance is done on it and everything. And we get as much of this white paint off as possible, but at some point we had missed a couple little pieces of paint.
Was it in the airbox though that you missed? Like, how would it suck the paint?
That's what I'm thinking. Is it got into the airbox somehow? Because Dad's pretty meticulous on keeping bikes up and maintenance and all that good stuff and everything. And so it's one of them things. We're out at Bremen racing, and the bike just kind of dies out on me out on the track. And it's, I don't know what's going on. I'm a little kid at the time, and get the bike off the track. It ended up sucking paint at some point, and Dad's going, it had to have been before we had gotten it, because, you pull the filter out. Obviously, when you get a new bike that you know nothing about, you're going to drop the oil out of it, you're going to change the air filter on it and put a fresh filter in it and everything. And apparently some paint had gotten through before we had put the new filter on it and what have you. And going out to Bremen, still back in the late 90s, Bremen was still a pretty wide open track, especially for 50 and 60cc dirt bikes. So that bike might have actually been running more RPMs than what it had before, and had some paint stuck around the rim of the air filter cleaner.
I could see that.
And pulled it in, and it didn't seize the motor.
That's what I was going to ask. So did it just get into the carb?
It got into the carb and clogged up the carb, because it didn't get into the motor or anything.
And that leaned out the motor.
Yep.
Okay.
It literally just kind of burr. And it's like, all right, well, something's not right.
So, but even then, unless So there's, in the back of the carb, there's a few hole passages to allow carburation to get down to the bottom of the carb to then pull things up. So the paint would have had to go into one of those holes or something to get down in there to plug partially of a main jet. Like, I'm trying to think of like the mechanics of it, how that would happen.
Well, it's one of those things that too, I mean, you're painting a plastic dirt bike because all the shrouds on it and everything are full-blown plastic.
And also with the plastic's going to flex and you're going to get
you're going to get that
break
cracked
apart from it.
paint. And then that basically like dry skin, you know, it just kind of flakes off as it goes. And you know, I'm sure Dad would have a lot more insight on it because he was the one that had to deal with it. You know, I was the kid that was riding the bike.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that, yeah, definitely you're getting that. There's something not right going on. Even as a little kid, you know, you're like, Dad, the bike's not running right, man. Something's off. Checked it between motos and stuff. And hell, man, if I'm not mistaken, we got that race on tape somewhere at the house. So,
you guys have a lot of races on tape. I've watched some of them. One of them was an epic battle with your dad that we talked about earlier. We're going to put on digital for when he comes on, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, hell, you're going to have a 5-hour podcast with Dad coming on here telling some of his stories.
Actually, it's kind of funny. I was texting John Watkins earlier today and asked him if he had any stuff to go on, and this is pretty funny. Rick is so humble, he may be hard to get to tell stories. He was once a serious bad dude on 2 wheels. I said, what?
A serious bad dude on what?
On 2 wheels.
Oh.
But Rick is so humble, he may be hard to tell stories. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Every time I'd see him, I can't get him to stop talking for 2 hours talking about racing back in the day and stuff.
Well, hell, it's not even just him. It's my mom, too, man. Like, I've had to go out there and kind of wrangle them up, be like, hey, you know, we have people come over and visit the house and they're trying to leave. It's like,
dude, I tell my wife if I'm going to your dad's house, because I still bring bikes to him to jet.
Yep.
Yeah, the past few times I've hung out with you has been for that, and B's ripping the Stasic around your guys' little pit bike track and stuff.
Well, hell, we got the RC car out the last time you were out at the house.
But I tell my wife, I'm like, look, this should be a 20-minute thing. I'm there. I'm gonna be there for an hour and a half to 2 hours. But John said to ask him how many gates he owns from Bremen.
As far as I know, it's only one.
Only one. Okay.
Only one.
Because I was like, did he buy some? He's like, nah, Kevin gave him some or something like that. But in all reality, you've paid for that full gate and probably half the track between you and your dad with how many times you guys have been there.
I mean, it's one of them things, man. You know, like I say, it was a local practice track. It was 45 minutes down the road. I say practice track. They had races there and everything, but for me, it was practice because that's where Dad's like, hey, we're going to go out to ride. Like I told you earlier, they'd change the direction of the track or change a jump on it or something. But like Dad, his favorite joke was, we're going to a brand new track today.
Yeah.
It's like, Dad, it looks like we're going out to Bremen. That's because we are, but they changed to the track route, so it's a new track to you.
I'm telling you right now, if I was to become a millionaire or win the lotto or whatever, or somehow this fucking thing takes off where I have enough capital, I'm buying Bremen. Like, it would not be hard to get it back to its glory days. There's so many things that are still there that you can use, the concession stands where Ink was at one time, or the shop, the pool barn, like all of it is, so much of it is still there. It would not take much to get it going. And I've seriously like done a few business plans, a little bit in my head, a little bit on paper, where I'm like, what could we do to do it? I'm talking 7, 8 years or so ago. I made a comment, like somehow somebody shared a picture of what it looked like, and I said to Kyle or Kevin, like, hey, I seriously would love to once a year, like, have an event out there. Like, can that be done? And like, I started plotting out how to go with it, and I never went past like conception, but like, dude, I'd get Shu out there in a heartbeat. And it would not take him long to get that place going. Sean Dukes just posted a picture not too long ago of the place. Did you see it?
No.
Yeah, it was him or Aaron Lindsay, I think, posted a picture of there, and you're like, just looking at him like, dude, yeah, where the parking is, you got a lot of rain ruts. Wouldn't take much to grade that, but the
Joey Kinsey that posted a picture?
No, that was a few years ago.
Okay, because I know
what you're
Joey's
talking
been
about.
out there.
I think the Joey Kinsey one is the one. I mean, this is 5, 6, 7 years ago, but Joey one is the one that I'm talking about where I made those comments and was dead serious about, like, dude, what do we need to do to just hold an event once a year there? Lease the property from, because I think the city bought part of it. Like, let them make some money. That place could make some money.
There were houses going up that were the noise pollution was the big issue with Bremen at the end of their thing and everything was the noise pollution, because there's a subdivision. I don't know if you remember back in the day, but Bremen used to be motocross, mud bogs, and paintball.
Yeah.
And at one point there was a BMX track out there too.
Wait, the paintball thing. So is that why there was all those old RVs parked out on the right side when you pulled in?
No, I don't think so. I think those might have actually been like makeshift apartments type or
where Ryan Nolan lived.
He might have actually lived in one of those. I know there was a kid out there. Him and his dad were living in one of the RVs on property for a little while.
I know you're talking about.
I can't remember his
the
name.
kid passed away not too long ago. He was really fast, right?
He was
And
fast.
his
I can't
dad,
remember the name.
oh my
now.
God, I know this.
Oh, Scoggins? Was that who it was?
Yes.
Bobby Scoggins?
No. Nope. No, I know who that is. That's not that person. Oh my God, if Richard Sheriff or Brad or Daniel see this, they are gonna know who we're talking about. But yeah, the kid, he like had a heart attack while he was on the beach.
Yes, and the tide pulled him out into the ocean. And
something
his
wild.
wife went to go get help.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'd see his dad and the little dog in the golf cart all the time, and I'd talk with him a lot. That pisses me off that I'm not.
Okay, now that
the
we're
name.
sitting here thinking about it, I'm sitting here going, okay.
All right, so
I know
while
exactly.
you're trying to remember the name,
Yeah.
that kid, I would hear stories of when I first moved here about that kid being on like an 02 Husky 125 with a bald tire, destroying everybody in A class.
Oh, yeah. And I'm also, not to mention, go out when the Bremen tabletop in the middle of the track was a solid 100 feet.
Before it slowly, from grading, went down to 80, then 70.
And he would throw that damn bike upside down on that jump. And it's one of those things, it's like, man, dude, that is insane. Bro, now that we're sitting here trying to think of his name,
I'm going to try to call somebody to get this name because it's going to piss me off until we get it. Let me see if I can connect this thing.
You know, weird thing about life, I ended up working at a chemical company for a little bit, and I met a guy at the chemical company that raced four-wheelers and stuff. And the guy's wife that we're talking about was his niece, if I'm not mistaken. So he knew the guy I'm talking about. He knew everything that was going on. He was pretty fast on quads, talking to him and everything, chit-chat with him back and forth.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach...
Oh, well. I tried. Tried calling Daniel. He would know. It's going to come to us.
It will. It'll be one of the things that it'll be tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and I'd love to mention some more about him and sharing stories of Bremen because he was kind of like you. He was always there. He freaking lived there. Kind of thing.
McCorkle.
Yes.
McCorkle.
Something. Kevin?
No.
I'm so glad you remembered it. It was gonna piss me off.
I can't remember his last name, but I do remember he was doing some video stuff for a little bit, getting some cool different angles out of Bremen of the Verb Classic.
Dude was impressive. Yeah. But yeah, sad that we lost him so soon because he still was around my age, and this is 5-6 years ago that he had passed. But all right, let's stop being so somber. Sucks. You put meeting wife at racetrack. Was that a dad thing or was that you?
That was Dad.
Okay.
That was most definitely
I thought that too. Billy Limestall passing you on a YZ 490, your first 450 race. What age were you first time you raced your dad's 450? Because it said, raced my dad's 450.
Right. Yeah. I raced 450C and thinking freshman or sophomore in high school. So
Okay. I was honestly wondering, like, was he like 13 kind of thing?
yeah, no, actually, no, you might be right, man, because it was like, it might have been actually 8th grade that I was starting to ride the 450 because I had a 250F. And
Fuck, you were on 250Fs in 8th grade? I shit you not. I've always been kind of little, but I was on 80s until 9th grade, going into 10th.
let me think, because now that we're talking about it, it's sounding off. It might have been 9th, 10th grade, but I was on a 250F at that point in time because I got a 125 in 7th or 8th grade because that was a Christmas present, and that was at our old house. So early 2000s, had a 125, had 250F, and then kind of talk with Dad back and forth, going, "Hey, I'm really enjoying riding the 250F and everything. You think I could throw a leg over your 450?" Well, the first time this had happened, we were out at X-Track, and I go, "Dad, can I ride your 450?" And at this point in time, I am in 6th grade. And Dad goes, "You can start it, you can ride it. You know the rule." Yep. Had the compression release, so you had to kick it all the way through.
What year 450 would that have been then?
It would have. It probably wasn't even a 450. It was probably a 426.
Well, then, so in 03 is when they got rid of the decompression release thing. And
yeah, because this was
01, 02.
01
and
around this time.
2000, not like 99, 2000 were 400s. And then
yeah. This was a 426 then. Because I don't think Dad actually ever had a 400, but this bike had the compression release because I remember having to kick it over.
Which is funny because the main reason why I'm so good at starting a 500 is because my dad had an 02 YZ 250F that you had the compression release. Yep. It's the same process, top dead center, passed, and then you can actually kick the thing.
Yep, and it's like, don't crash the damn thing while you're racing it. Cause
don't crash it on the left side.
Yeah, you ain't gonna get the bike back up and start it in time. But
these damn kids these days with their 250Fs and their electric start, they just hit the button and it just starts right up.
But now I got the bike started. Dad's like, "Oh crap!
Fuck.
All right, all right, yeah, you get to ride it." So Dad's out there on my 80, which we had some motor work done. So
I'm sure he's ripping.
Oh yeah, he was still clearing. This was X-Track.
I've never got to ride there. That was done before I moved here.
Okay, so X-Track was like a sand track in Georgia.
I've heard of it. I think Lawrenceville-ish area.
Yep. And
I've heard tales of it.
We used to go out there all the time. If I'm not mistaken, I think Terry, Hunter, and Trent introduced us to X-Track. I think the first time we ever went out there.
When you guys were you like, X-Track? Like,
yeah, the dodgeball. But man.
No, dodgeball's...
Oh, that's right. But we go out to X-Track, and there's the time that I started Dad's 426, got to ride that around, and it's like, we're out there riding. We're wearing the same gear because at the time, Mr. Rogers was helping us out with a Fox deal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Joe Sr. was helping us out with Fox deal.
Okay.
And so, obviously, our gear was the exact same. We had factory effects connections and everything, so the graphics on the bike all matched. You knew, obviously, the number was the same, too, but you see we were out there together, father-son, riding. Well, it's like you'd see one lap, Dad come by on his 426 and me come through on my 80 and everything, and that was when I was actually able to get fast enough to start riding with the big bikes and the bigger practice, so I was out there with Dad while he was riding. And, Dad gave me the deal. You can start the bike, you can ride it.
Yep.
Got it started. The next lap around, I'm sure people were really confused because I see the son coming through riding the 426 and then a big man on an 80 jumping all the same jumps and everything.
Giving it the beans.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point in time, Dad had sent the cylinder off on the 80 to Eric Gore up in Illinois.
Yep.
Eric Gore's a badass.
He's still building badass motors.
He does,
YZ300s and all kinds of awesome
He does
stuff.
that, plus the chainsaws that man builds.
What?
Oh, yeah, he's built some
I've seen the chainsaw
badass
competitions. Like,
chainsaws.
if he's part of that world,
He is.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I gotta look
man.
into that more.
Yeah, he's gotten into all
He's
that.
the person
stuff
I would
too.
love, because I want to do a thing where I can like video call people and talk to them about some things.
That
Get
would
like
be
a
cool.
20-minute thing.
Yeah.
That'd be a person I'd love to talk to.
He's highly intelligent, man, especially with all the
Have you got to meet him and talk with him?
I mean, just chit-chatting with him and listening to him while Dad's talk to him on the phone and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked with Eric Gore. It's been years at this point because, it'd be one of them things that, like I say, we'd take the cylinder off the 80 and send it up to him. And he did the work on that one. He did the work on the 125. Once we started getting to 4-strokes, though, I mean, we didn't need to really...
I don't see a lot of 4-stroke stuff from him. It's more 2-stroke, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I could be totally wrong on that, but the things that I've seen, it's usually 2-strokes that I've seen.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And it's one of them things, like, after we got on the 4-strokes, we didn't really need the porting and the polishing and the boring and all that. Because, I mean, hell, the 4-strokes make so much damn power as it is. But he definitely hooked us up on some bikes and everything and helped us get some really perky bikes. And I know you'll have Dad on the show at some point and everything, but I had sent you a note about the 490 with the YZ80 ignition and everything.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wrote
If I'm not
on here, too.
mistaken, Eric Gore had some play into the motor work on that bike and everything.
Well, all right, so we went way off track with the 490, 450 first race. So what?
Oh,
yeah.
sorry,
What
man.
happened?
So
hey, I don't care. Let's go down these fucking rabbit holes.
yeah,
This is great.
so we take off the start, and I'm on Dad's 450 again. Young kid running the 450C class, and this is when Bremen had the start straight that went all the way into the sweeping right hand corner that took you down the back straight.
Yep. And then we made the right. There was that triple along the trees kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, so I get a great start off the line, man, and it's like got the whole shot, pulling. I just hear this 2-stroke off my left side going burp.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's not even like strung out like a 125.
Yeah.
It's just cruising, and he didn't get me in the whole shot or anything. I was able to get the corner, get out, get the whole shot, won the moto, whatever, come back in and everything. And I'm telling Dad, I'm like, hey, man, there was a 2-stroke passing me down the front straightaway. And he's like, there's no way in hell. You're on a 426. Nothing should be passing you down the front straightaway. I'm like,
probably a $115.
Yeah, I'm like, Dad, I'm telling you, there was a 2-stroke, not a 4-stroke. There was a 2-stroke passing me down the front straightaway. He starts scanning the pits, and I Lyman saw his name, right? Yeah. It is Barry Lyman. Bobby Lyman Saul's bike, and he had a newer YZ250F frame with a 490 motor in it.
A 2-stroke? Holy shit. So when you sent it, I was just like, oh, he was like that dude that raced Loretta's on the old Mako. I just figured it was kind of one of those situations. He's on a 490 and he's...
No, he was on an updated frame 250F with a 490 motor. And
holy shit.
If I'm not mistaken...
so this was 02, 03-ish?
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah.
Okay, so it would have been before aluminum. So steel frame put into a...
Well, no, it was aluminum frame at that point.
Well, that would have been 06. The 06 is when they went to aluminum frames. If it was in a Yamaha frame. We're old.
I'm trying to think anyways. But yeah, man, Dad started looking around the pits and saw Bobby pitted out by us. And he goes, oh, okay. Yeah, you were getting passed by a 2-stroke.
So there was also another thing about Bobby about a wicked tuned 50 turn to 80 cheater. It said YSR, which the YSR 50 is a street bike.
You're going to have to ask Dad about that one. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a street bike. He had
YSR 50 is a street bike. So that's why I was like,
done some motor work to it and everything. And was, if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of like he would take it out the road courses and he just wouldn't have to let off around the corners because
that would be about right with one of
just
those things.
Stay in it all the way around. And I think he was pissing some people off. it'd be one of those things. Dad's gonna know the story a lot better than I do. And
Good.
everything.
We'll bring that one up. So you made a mention while we were talking about the 50 sucking paint about how meticulous your dad is, and I jotted down quickly 93 YZ250 because I want to talk about that thing.
Yeah.
Because what was so cool about that is there was at some point going to your dad's shop to get something from him. Probably, I can't remember. There's probably the stuff to wash bikes, because he would hook me up with the acid wash and all kinds of different stuff. And I saw this 93 YZ250, the old, excuse me, the deer with the tough jerseys and the gloves and the goggles mounted, and I walked into that cave with all the old cool stuff there, and I was like, dude, he's got this 93 YZ250 just sitting here. And then fast forward a few years later, you are racing this thing. So he bought it, like, he's like, yeah, this is one of my new bikes that I raced. He did pro races on it in the 90s.
No, what had happened is that is one of my dad's, I call him my uncle, but he's one of my dad's best friends.
Okay.
You know, and they've been really good buddies for a long time, and his buddy Tim Carter used to race that bike way back in the day.
Okay.
Dad had a 93 YZ250 as well, and had a lot of cool parts on it and everything like that. Well, when he had sold the bike, he had taken off the cool parts and put all the stock stuff back on it. I think he had a lowering linkage for the rear shock and everything to kind of give you better ergonomics on the bike. Cooler things for the bike, you know, just
honestly, with you
parts.
saying this, it's bringing up all kinds of memories of hearing him talk about all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Tim had stopped riding. Dad had gotten hurt in 96. I think Tim stopped riding after that. And I think Dad bought the bike from Tim, and, you know, after...
Just put all the cool stuff on, and it kind of sat.
Exactly. It was one of the things that had sat in the shop for a little while, and after I had broken my heel on the 450 out of Bremen that we were talking about earlier, I had stopped riding because, you know,
I remember you taking that hiatus.
Yeah, I'd worked out for a long time, gotten really big. Like I said, I'd lost like 20 pounds in the hospital, and that killed my motivation to work out. Didn't want to ride dirt bikes at that point because I kept getting hurt. It is like, all right, man, I'm done being hurt on dirt bikes. 5 years goes by, and it's like, you get the itch. You know, it's like, all right, man, I got to throw my leg over a bike and go do something.
So what was the first time you took that thing out? Because I'm telling you, people, this dude brought this thing out and hurt people's feelings. Like, he seriously was hurting people's feelings on this thing. So, yeah, what happened with that?
The first time I had brought it out, like I said, I'd stopped riding for 5 years, and I had started working a job at Caterpillar in Atlanta.
Okay. Kind of by Six Flags?
Yep. Had another buddy that I'd met working there and everything, and his name's Hunter, and he's talking about how he rode dirt bikes and everything, and how, you know, he wasn't saying that he's a badass or fast or anything, but I was like, you know, start talking shit to him, like, hey, man, you want to race? I'll go against you on a 20-year-old dirt bike. He's like, oh, man, you ain't got nothing for me. Well, we ended up going and riding out at Durham Town. That was the first time out riding a bike, because Dad goes, hey, I asked Dad, I go, hey, man, I'm wanting to start riding again. But, you know, I was seeing if I could ride the 93 YZ250, because if it's just something I'm going to throw my leg over a bike every once in a while, I'm not going to go spend $9-10 grand on a new bike. Yeah. So he goes, hey, let's drain oil in it, put fresh oil in it, check the filter and everything.
Probably clean the carb.
Yeah, all that good stuff. He goes, make sure the reeds aren't going to crack.
Yeah.
So he goes, let's ride it around the house, do some wide open throttle pulls and everything, and make sure the bike's copacetic to go on ride. So everything checked out with the bike, go out to Durham Town, see my buddy out there. And we've been trash talking each other back and forth for the past like month and a half. I go down there, and you got to think, this is my first time on a bike in 5 years. So I start going out there, and I don't even know what track I was on. Just one of the...
Either the Bomber or MX1, I would think.
I think it was MX1 or whatever, but get out there, start getting a little bit of a process and a flow back and everything. I'm like, well, shoot, man, this track's kind of boring. Let's go over to the bomber.
Yeah.
Go around the bomber track, and I start throwing down some laps on the bomber track. He's like, all right, yeah, you're definitely faster than I am. You know, I'm going to rebuttal my arguments with you about who's faster. But he's like, damn, bro, I didn't think you were going to be that quick on a 20-year-old dirt bike. It's like, well, I mean, it's kind of stuck with you, you know, when you start riding at 4 years old, it's kind of hard to get rid of the thought process.
I'm telling you, I don't remember the times and places I'd watch you, but I was like, dude, what are you riding that thing for? And then I'd see you ride, and I was like, he's fucking scooting on this thing. Like, you got where that was the only thing you were riding, I felt like, for 6 months or so, to where you really connected with it, and you were just going.
Yeah, I got one video out at Lane's house over the big tabletop out at Lane's house, and I have the 93 250 flat right over the jump and everything. And it's like, I told Dad, I'm like, man, you can't get much cooler than throwing a 93 250 flat.
That's why, I don't know if you paid attention to it, that's why I put the picture of the thing for the YouTube thumbnail was on the 93 YZ250.
Yeah, and that's one of the coolest pictures because Tim Whaley took that picture.
Oh, yeah.
He was sitting, obviously, right off the landing of a jump or something. I think it might even been the big tabletop out at Lane's.
Yeah.
And, you know, got me pointing at him and everything. It's like, bro, that's a badass picture. I really enjoy that pic and everything.
No, I'm glad I thought to bring that thing up and you mentioned that because that. And then, what happened with the bike?
It's still around.
I know, but
Terry Hunter.
You guys sold it to Terry?
No. Terry ended up coming getting it and refreshed the whole bike. I don't know.
Well, he's a fucking expert at doing that.
Oh, yeah. He's even done some cooler mini builds and stuff for the Barber Motorsports and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, helmets and bikes and everything, you can't pass up that man's work. He is to the nth degree of that is sick, cool type stuff.
Yeah.
But he went through the entire YZ250, and I don't know about motor. I'm pretty sure he freshened up the motor. Don't think he went over the top on it or anything, but then powder coated the frame, you know, got new wheels for it, new plastics.
And then it went where?
It went with Terry to a lot of the races.
No,
like
but
Terry
there was a special.
It did
Legends
of Supercross at the
Legends and Heroes.
That's what it's called.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember walking into like their little trailer setup, and I was like, "Huh, I know that bike.
Yeah.
I've really struggled to pass that fucking bike once a few cases."
Yeah, man, and it is one of those things that, like, you know, that's really cool to be even have Dad's bike in that type of ordeal and everything. But you got to think Terry had been racing that bike. Terry won a championship for the vintage stuff on that bike, if I'm not mistaken.
Me.
Yeah, it is, because I mean, hell, Terry's a good rider and everything. Yeah. Terry's got the style. Trent was a damn good rider and everything whenever we all used to actually ride dirt bikes. But yeah, man, watching Terry go out and race that thing and then seeing how fresh the bike is, it's like, bro, it's one of the prettiest bikes on the damn starting line.
He still owns it?
Yeah, it's sitting in the back of the bike.
So there
room.
is that when we were talking about the Winners Take Y'all pod earlier, they're doing that Great Escape race not too far from you guys, actually really close to like the old Bremen track. And they're doing vintage on Saturday, and it's all for charity, modern racing on Sunday. I'm going to that weekend. So you guys need to come and hang out for that.
That would definitely be neat. Dad's always talked about, he's like, man, you need to go take the YZ250 out and go run some vintage races. It's like, hell, you talk Mom and Steph into it, I'm down. Otherwise, I'm in just as much trouble as he is.
Yeah, once it's in your blood, it is hard to get out. So I get it. But we're going to wrap up the show. Glad to have you in, buddy.
I appreciate you having me in, man. It was a great time.
Yep. So we're going to play. All right. This is actually really cool. So my dad's mom, so we call her Gima Bonnie. We went and visited her before we went on our vacation down in Florida. She lives down there near the Villages. and I always end it with B's stories.
Right.
So while we were sitting there hanging out with her, and I haven't seen her in years, it's one of those things that kind of sucks. You don't get to see your grandmother too often, kind of thing. I lost my other grandmother a few years back. So while we were there, instead of just recording a voice of him telling a Moto story, because he just makes up stories, kind of thing. I was like, B, tell her a story. So I'm going to play that for you guys, and then we're going to wrap up the show. So thanks for listening. I just want to say again, if you've got a good story, share it. Call in anytime, 844-789-2367. It gives you entries into a dirt bike giveaway. Why would you not just share an awesome story? Obviously do it. And I should probably mention that I'm also covering some of the shipping. So if you live far away, within reason, I'm covering part of the shipping to that. So I want to get this thing away. In fact, Jaron, what did you think when you saw that thing earlier today? You said, I want to go look at this thing.
Yeah, it's sick. It's so clean, man.
You've been around a lot of vintage bikes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's one of those things. See, we talked about a few different things on it when we were sitting down there chit-chatting. I don't want to get...
oh, this is that. Oh, this is cool. Like, oh.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away because I know what you've done to the bike and everything. And it's, guys, it's sweet. It's sweet. Yeah. It's definitely one of them things that even though it's a replica bike, you're going to want to ride it.
Yeah. Honestly, part of me wants to ride it.
I know.
I would literally duct tape the whole, or masking tape anything that I might scratch with it.
Well, my biggest thing is the frame. After you redid the whole frame with you said you repowder coated the whole frame and everything. Yeah. That would be the one thing where it's like, I don't want to scratch.
I didn't powder. I think powder coat is kind of bullshit when you're redoing a bike. Yes, it holds up a little bit better, but when it finally goes, it just flakes off in chunks.
Right.
We painted it like OEM spec. So it would eventually just rub like a regular bike would rub back in the day before they went to aluminum frame kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to do powder coat. I put the extra time and effort and got my buddy who's a badass painter. We looked up the code and painted it to OEM spec. But yeah, anyways, hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hey, come here. Can you go stand by Gimo Bonnie? And I want you to tell her a motorcycle story.
Yeah.
Tell her a story about riding a motorcycle.
Once upon a time, me and Frankie were riding a dirt bike on the track, and then we did everything fun. And then we saw Goose on the road. We stopped. We picked him up. We kept riding. We took him home, and then we saw our friends, and then we played. The end.
You wanna talk about a leap of faith? I have come started in the darkness. With cups and rolling dice, we get no fucks now. Who think twice, yeah. And when this whole takes over, felt like it was trying to shake us. Held on to what we knew. It could try, but it never break us. It could try, but it never break us. Talk about us coming up like we can't function on this level. You laugh at who we are. You're the joke that's taken too far. Always complexion over. We won't let them take us down. We just keep getting closer.